Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We will officially open this meeting of the Illinois Board of Review for today, November 1st, 2022. I believe everyone is present and accounted for. We do have a number of issues that were resolved in executive session that we will run through those. Then I would ask if there's a representative from the law department who will speak on behalf of the law department. If not, I will call on each individual to give me a status of cases that have been continued, withdrawn, or otherwise resolved. Okay, just so we can do this, whoever's representing the law department, if there's one person, just raise your hand. Let me know if you're gonna. Okay, Miss Amy Skiles, you will do that? Okay, thank you very much. Alrighty, so let's go into those matters that were resolved during executive session. Mr. Wade?
Case number 26, hearing appeal number HA 2021-005-541. ND GOXHAJ 2420 Duncan Street. That continuance request has been granted.
Thank you.
Okay.
Case number 27, hearing appeal number 2021-005-651. Ray Tran, 1009 Arnott Street. That continuance request has been granted. In case number 33, I apologize. We were going to hold off on case 33.
Yes.
Okay.
Those matters that require legal counsel, I will raise those, Mr. Wade.
Okay.
So is anything else? We do have several withdrawn cases that are on, put those on the record, please.
Okay. I didn't know if the city attorney would put them. Okay, case number 7, hearing appeal number HA 2021-00282 Dennis Harding, 5241 Pine Street. The case has been withdrawn. Case number 10, hearing appeal number HA 2021-00294 Eastwick Joint Venture, 7800 Lindbergh Boulevard, Unit 4504. That case has been withdrawn. Case number 17, hearing appeal number 2021-00633 Marie Verzilli, 13060 Proctor Road. That case has been withdrawn. Case number 25, hearing appeal number HA 2021-005-444 Rose Izeri, 428 West Erie Avenue. That case has been withdrawn. Case number 30, hearing appeal number 2021-002-443 Avansix Resin and Chemicals, LLC, Christopher Bond, Bridge and Thompson. That case has been withdrawn. Case number 31, hearing appeal number HA 2021-002-456 Avansix Resin and Chemicals, LLC, Christopher Bond, 4689 Bermuda Street. That case has been withdrawn. Case number 32, hearing appeal number HA 2021-003-419 Avansix Resin and Chemicals, LLC, Christopher Bond. That case has been withdrawn. And case number 34, hearing appeal number 2021-00833 Avansix Resin and Chemicals, LLC, Christopher Bond, 4701 Bermuda. That case has been withdrawn.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. While we're on that matter, though, this particular case, number 33, Avansix Resins and Chemicals, I believe there's a 90-day continuance request. I want to hear from the city and the counsel for the appellant on that matter. Both would unmute themselves. Raise your hand so we can unmute you. Who's representing the city on this?
Good afternoon, members of the board. India McGee for the city of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon. Who's representing the appellant?
I am, Your Honor, Jessica Hunt.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, what I'd like to do is, I know that several of these matters have been withdrawn, but this one remains to be continued. And I'd just like to hear on the record, what's the reasoning and the city's positioning?
Sure. So the city's position is that we are in agreement with this continuance request. As the board noted, several of these matters were able to be settled and withdrawn prior to today's hearing. This is the only violation that still has not been settled. However, the company has complied the violation, and at this time, there are no outstanding violations or concerns from the city about the public health and safety or the environment related to this violation. At this time, the parties are engaged in settlement discussions about the violation, but we're not concerned about any ongoing compliance issues.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hunt, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Ms. McGee accurately summarized our conversations.
Okay, thank you. So based on that, we will continue this matter for the requested 90 days.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, we do have several other matters that the board discussed in executive session that I want to raise at this time. And some of them will go to the issue of timeliness, and the others will resolve around the need or requirement for legal counsel to represent the appellant. And I'm doing these out of turn principally because I want to have both the city's position as well as the appellant's position on the record. So we will begin with number 4, which is HA 2021-000186, MAM 5435 LLC, 5435 Haverford Avenue. It's a property maintenance violation. Who's representing the city? Is anyone present representing the city? Okay, everyone's muted, so you'll need to raise your hands to be unmuted if you're representing the city in this matter. Who's representing the appellant? Okay, well, no one is stepping forward, so we're going to move on.
Mr. Reuter has his hand up.
Oh, he does. Okay. I don't see him on my screen, but Mr. Reuter?
Yes,
Yes.
hi. Regarding the first matter that you were talking about, number 4 on the list,
Yes.
I believe we have that indicated as moot complied, so that's why there's no attorney currently assigned to it because the violations have been complied. So
Thank you. That answers that question. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay. All righty. The next matter then
Excuse me,
is-
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
are
sir.
we going to mark that on our sheets, mute complied?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, I have 3 of them at the bottom of the list to read in the record as well at the very end.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I apologize.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's do those 3, and that
Okay.
may resolve some of the other matters I had
Well,
planned.
they were at the end. I was getting to that. Okay.
Okay. So please proceed with those then.
Case number 41, hearing appeal number HA 2021-000698, Raymond B. Good, 700 West York Street. That matter's been marked moot complied.
Who complied? Thank you.
Case number 42, hearing appeal number HA 2021-000670, John Ross, 2418 Trenton Ave. That matter has been marked moot complied.
Thank you.
And case number 43, hearing appeal number HA 2021-000478, Susanna Dobor, 6536 Reedland Street. That matter has been marked moot complied.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. And now I just want to go back to these issues that I raised earlier. Number 9, and that address is for the appeal number. I need to, unfortunately, change my glasses here. HA 2021-000290, 4150 Kensington Avenue LLC. That's a C of O issue, 1011 West Glenwood Avenue. And the attorney is listed as Samuel B. Esquire. We noted from the record that this one is an issue of timeliness. So who's representing the city in this?
This is Amy Skiles on behalf of the city. This matter's also moot complied.
Who complied? Thank you very much. Thank you. All righty. Let's move on then to number 12, which is HA 2021-000562. Tel Mudicum, Yashiba of Philadelphia, property maintenance matter, 2048 Upland Way. And the attorney is Steve Bertil Esquire.
Amy
And-
Skiles, once again, on behalf of the city. This is also a moot matter.
Moot, okay, thank you. And I mispronounced this, Tom Mudical, TALMUDICAL. My apologies. Okay, let's move on then to number 15, HA 2021-000592, Georgianne Labowitz. It's a rental license matter at 6934 Torresdale Avenue.
Amy Skiles, once again, this is a moot complied matter.
Moot complied. Thank you so much. The next one is number 16. HA 2021-000630. Estabia El Hassan for Islamic Center, 9247 East Roosevelt Boulevard. Issue of timeliness. Representing the city,
Yes, Amy Skiles, on behalf of the city. This is also moot complied.
moot complied. Thank you so much. Maybe I should have done this in reverse order. We will continue. Number 22, HA 2021-004995. And that's Chef Box Use Registration 1935 South 3rd Street. The issue is whether council is required.
And my colleague, Mr. Reuter, it will be handling this matter.
Mr. Reuter?
Yes, thank you. There were two violations issued, one to Box, which we believe is an LLC. They would need to be represented by counsel. And I believe the appeal itself was filed under that name.
Okay,
But again, also, we're not sure that they're even here to pursue the appeal because the particular establishment may no longer even be in business. So I would ask that the board wait and call the case because it's possible it could just be dismissed.
okay, all righty, we'll do that. Okay, thank you. Let's move on then to number 24, HA 2021, that's 005172. Tatiana Lucas, LUCZAJ, 2724 Arch Street.
Jeffrey Cohen for the city of Philadelphia. Good afternoon, members of the board.
Afternoon, this is issue of timeliness and whether a legal counsel is required.
Chair,
I don't
I
believe there's
may-
an issue with legal counsel as the owner of the property is the appellant, an individual person. But it is at least 2 weeks untimely in that the appeals period ran on November 7th of 2021 and the appeal wasn't dated or received until November 24th.
Right, see, we have someone in, who's been muted, so if you unmute that individual, please.
Mr. Chair, if I may, for the record,
Yes,
it's 2724 ASH Street for the recorder. I think you said Arch,
I did say Arch, you're absolutely correct, Ash Street.
Ash Street. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
the record.
Let's look at that. Would you pronounce your name, please? I know we butchered.
Yes, Luce, that works for me.
Luce, okay.
Okay.
There's a question that the board had regarding, is that property owned by you in your own personal name, individual?
Yes, correct.
And you're the only person's name on the deed?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and the issue now is a matter of timeliness. You didn't, it appear, submit your appeal in a timely fashion.
So the problem was at this time, the property was occupied by the tenants and correspondence was coming to their place. So they actually withhold it from me. So I didn't
Wow.
receive all the paperwork until it was past that term. As soon as I received in my possession, they sent me via email. I mean, we had the tenant dispute and the tenants actually tried to create the problems for me. So they did it on purpose, withhold my
well,
mail.
I do have the question, why not have it delivered to your business address in Philadelphia or a representative other than the address of the property?
I actually contacted the city and I asked on a multiple occasion actually to put my address because recently I live with my mom as I had a baby and I needed her help. So I actually moved with my mom and I asked to do my mailing address with where I live right now, but it
Okay.
was not for some reason changed. And I
Were
actually
you-
had
were
it
you-
with
Were
Members
you
of
the
the board.
resident, were you a resident of that property before you, previously? Did you live there?
yes, I lived myself there for 22 years.
Okay,
Members of the board, may I put something on my screen?
yes, please.
One moment. Is everyone able to see the document that I have on my screen?
Correct.
This is a rental license, most recently issued September of 2021. It shows that Ms. Lujai, I at least believe that's the pronunciation, represented her mailing address as 2724 Ash Street for a rental license for 2724 Ash Street. So it's inaccurate to say that she wasn't expecting to receive mail at this property. She may decided to live off-site, but she has represented to the city through this official document that she receives mail there.
Okay,
This is
thank you.
not the only document that she has represented this address as her own. It's just one of the most recent.
Okay, thank you. In this matter, we will hear this one today. All right, thank you.
Thank
Just wanted to raise the issue and put it on the record. We'll proceed with it when it's called. Thank you. Just one moment, and I will be complete with my list. Okay, I'm prepared now to hear from the city in terms of other matters that have been resolved or otherwise that have continuous requests. Ms. Amy Skiles.
Yes, okay. I have a number of moot complied cases that I will read into the record now.
Okay,
Beginning with number 1, HA 2022-002-592, appellant Mohammed Seth. It's a vending cart on 9th Street between Walnut and Locust. That is moot complied.
thank you. Move complied.
Number 2, appeal number HA 2022-002-596, appellant Ann Etheridge. It's a vending cart on Race Street between 19th and 20th. That is also moot complied.
Move complied. Thank you.
Number 3, HA 2022-002-597. Appellant is Rit Tran. A vending on 15th and Vine is moot complied.
Move complied. Thank you.
Number 4, HA 2021-000-186. I believe we've addressed this matter
Yes.
already. It is moot complied.
Correct.
Number 5, HA 2021-000-209, James Cook. The address is 510 Greenwich Street. This is moot.
Thank you.
Okay, the number 8, appeal number HA 2021-000-286, Brenda Addo, 1017 South Bouvier Street. This is moot complied.
Move complied. Thank you.
Then next on my list is number 11, HA 2021-000-336, Dolores Daniels. The address is 2032 Reed Street. This is moot complied.
Move complied. Thank you.
Number 13, HA 2021-000-566. The appellant is Swampan Das. The address is 5625 Sansom Street. This is moot.
Moot. Thank you.
Number 14, HA 2021-000-568. The appellant is Swampan Das at 5627 Sansom Street. This is moot as well.
Thank you.
Okay, then moving on to number 18, HA 2021-001314, Brianna Mack and Delane Andrews 5839 Florence Avenue, that's moot complied.
All right, thank you.
Number 19, HA 2021-001315, Yvette Brown Jackson, 7425 Oxford Street. This is moot complied.
Who complied? Thank you.
Number 21, HA 2022-003156, 1314 Marston LLC. The address is 1314 Marston Street. An agreement has been reached on this matter. It has been forwarded to the board.
Okay, if you just summarize the agreement so we can put, so the board may have an opportunity to vote on that. And one minor correction, I believe that's North Marston Street.
Yes, North Marston Street.
Okay,
So this is a case involving fines and with a contractor's license. They have reached a settlement agreement of $1,500 of fines.
okay. And so would it be your preference that the board vote to sustain the appeal per the agreement? I mean, I'm sorry. City affirm per the agreement.
Yes,
Okay, speak up because we may say the wrong thing.
right, yes. City
City
affirm,
affirm
yes.
okay. All right, thank you. We will then poll the board regarding HA 2022-003156, 1314 Marston LLC, 1314 North Marston Street. City affirm per the agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes, sir.
note Jared Klein is listed as the attorney on this matter, and I see his visual on the second page of my screen.
Okay, let's unmute him so that we can put him on the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Jared Klein on behalf of the appellant. Everything that the city recited to you is accurate. Thank you.
All right, thank you. My apologies, sir. I didn't see you there.
No problem.
Okay, then I will restate the vote then. This is for HA 2020 -003156, 1314 Marston LLC, 1314 North Marston Street, City affirmed per agreement.
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 Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Ms. Giles, do you have others?
Yes, and then case number 23, HA 2021-005169, Lynn Ann Westcott, 1320 South 3rd Street. This matter is moot complied.
Thank you.
I do see Mr. Ross, who's listed as the attorney here.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Andrew Ross on behalf of the appellant in this matter. And yes, we understand that it is marked moot complied, and that obviously no objection to that.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Thank you.
Ross. Good to see you.
Okay, Ms. Giles?
And that concludes my list. I do believe my colleague, Mr. Reuter, has some additional information.
Okay, Mr. Reuter?
Good afternoon. May it please the board, Leonard Reuter for the city of Philadelphia. Yeah, I have a couple of matters that can probably be handled at this point. Number 20 on the list, HA 2022-002489. That's Dobson Scott LP. Ms. Leslie Gerstein is also here. She represents the appellant. I believe we have an agreement to continue this matter till the end of February of 2023. And it's a little bit, the reasoning is a little bit complicated. There were various matters that were taking place outside of the board, the context of the board. There was a court case that just concluded at the end of September that directly implicated the issues in this appeal, which is basically involved the expiration of various construction permits.
Okay.
So
Ms.
we've agreed
Gerstein?
to continue that till to the end of February, but
Okay, Ms. Gerstein is muted, so if you could unmute her, please. There she is. Ms. Gerstein, I'm
Good
sure you've heard the city's representation. Are
That
you?
is correct.
You concur?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll continue this matter then until end of February 2023, Mr. Browder.
that'd be fine. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if that's the 28th or 29th. It should be 23. It's got to be the 28th because it wouldn't be a leap year. So
Okay,
thank you. I also have another matter on the list. Let me see. Sorry, where number, actually a couple others. Number 28, HA 2021-56005654, Duarte R. Smith. And Mr. Paul Toner is here representing the appellant.
okay, Mr. Toner Zuzzo, please unmute him, please.
Oh, he was here. Is he still?
I see.
I believe I am unmuted.
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
The city, we've reviewed the violation in this matter. It was a violation for not having a permit for a patio. It turns out there is a permit for the patio. It was under a different address that had previously been consolidated with this address. So the city, so the appeal's not being withdrawn. The city is withdrawing the appeal, which would moot the appeal. Just so the record's clear. So sometimes I think when somebody says the violation's withdrawn, it sounds like the appeal's being withdrawn. I think it should be appeal moot, violation withdrawn.
Okay, so the city has withdrawn the violation, which moots the appeal.
That's the way I don't know how you code that, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Mr. Tony, anything you want to add to that?
I concur. Nothing
Okay,
else.
all right, thank you. So violation is withdrawn.
Correct.
Okay. And-
Lastly, and sorry to take, to jump the line here, I do have another agreement.
Okay.
This would be number 40, HA 2022-004193, Property Connection Limited. And Meredith Ferliger is also here representing the appellant.
Okay,
Hi, good afternoon, board members. Meredith Ferliger on behalf of the Appellant Property Connections LTD.
So this is a situation where there was an intent to cease. The appellant had requested an expedited appeal, which the city didn't oppose, but in the meantime, the board, because of the scheduling, the board couldn't get it scheduled right away. So while we were waiting to see if the board was going to schedule or when the board was going to schedule the matter, we did work out a settlement agreement, which again, I believe this should be, Ms. Ferliger agrees, the agreement itself doesn't mention the status of the appeal, but I believe, again, as with the other cases, it should be marked city affirmed per agreement, which we will provide to the board. I can email that right now.
yes, if you would just summarize the high points of the agreement for the record, please, then we will then poll the board, please.
Sure. On October 5th, 2022, the department determined that the property that was located at 1604-12 North 21st Street was operating as an art studio without proper zoning permit, in addition to some other violations. As a condition to stay the cease pending the outcome of the zoning permit application, we agreed that the defendant would, or the appellant would remove all materials concerning the safety of the subject premises, and other than certain exceptions that we put into the agreement, shall not occupy the premises without proper zoning and the proper certificate of occupancy. There's certain specific things that they have to remove, which I believe much of that has been removed, or they're in the process of removing that. They've agreed not to occupy the premises beyond 11 o'clock at night. Nobody can stay overnight at the premises. All the flammables have to either be removed or organized. And I believe we executed that agreement on the 21st of October, and I believe since that time, there's a zoning permit application that was submitted. I don't remember if the permit has actually been issued yet.
It has not.
Yeah, probably not. It usually takes for a non-residential, it would probably take about 15, 20 days maybe. And then they'll need to obtain a certificate of occupancy after that point. They may decide getting the CO is not worth it because there may be substantial alterations required, such as sprinklerization and things like that, but we won't know that until they get to that stage. But the agreement provides time to go through that in steps. So again, we would then, as a result of that, ask that the board mark this city affirmed per agreement.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Freliger, do you have anything to add to that?
I do not. Everything that council read into the record was accurate.
Okay, thank you. So we will poll the board regarding HA-2022-004193, Property Connection LTD, 1604-12 North 21st Street, city affirmed per agreement.
City affirmed per agreement.
City affirmed per the agreement.
City affirmed per the agreement.
Be affirmed per agreement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it, Mr. Roder?
That is it for now. There's another matter I think that we'll be able to resolve, but I haven't had an opportunity to have a separate conversation about that. So we'll wait till it gets called.
Okay.
That's fine.
Alrighty. Just because I'm not certain, I may have missed something. What was the resolution to number 22, HA-2021-004995 Sheffenbach LLC? I believe we were going to wait to see if anyone.
Yeah, I think we were
appeared.
going to call it's we suspect, but don't know that particular business is no longer operating, and therefore they may not pursue the appeal. So we would just ask that be called in the normal course, and then if nobody's here, then we would ask the appeal be dismissed.
Sure. Okay.
Otherwise,
Right.
if they are here, they do need an attorney. So.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. So let's go back on and there's nothing else preliminary fashion.
Mr. Chair, I just
Yes,
want to
sir.
call- number 2 was marked moot complied. There was a interpreter requested for that case. If the interpreter was in the room, I just wanted to dismiss.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr.
Inter-
Chairman,
Excuse me, Your Honor, this is the interpreter. Is it a Cambodian? I am present and do you still need me?
No, that case has been marked moot complied.
Wonderful. Well, have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Mr. Pincus?
I note there are four individuals signed on with phone numbers, but not with pictures, at least on the second page of my screen. Should we identify those? There are 5 actually that are listed as iPhone, and there's a 6th one without any, it has a 0. Should we identify if those people are present and able to connect visually?
Yeah, what I'd like to do in that case, given that we have members of the general public who may have also joined us, just to make a general statement for anyone who's now listening and we are not able to see your image. Once we call your case, we need to see your face. So do whatever you need to do between now and then to make sure that you can represent yourself or have your attorney do that so that we can see your face. And it's really important that we can do that. Given that we have 3 pages of individuals, Mr. Pincus, some of whom may not be, they may just be sitting and watching, and because this is such an interesting show. So we'll see what happens. Thank you, though. Okay, let's go back to the first page, Mr. Wade, and let's start calling cases.
Okay, my record has us down to case number 6.
Correct.
Hearing appeal number HA 2021-000216, Yan Feng Zhen, 45 North 13th Street.
Okay.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Mary Costello on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Okay. And who's representing the appellant, or is the appellant present? If you are, raise your hand so that the administrator can unmute you. Are we having any success, Mr. Wade?
I don't see any name resembling that, and the phone numbers are not. If you give me 1
Okay.
second, I can check the appeal.
Yes, please.
And Mr. Chairman, no one has reached out to me regarding this matter.
Okay. So you have not had a conversation with anyone then?
I have not.
Okay.
I did email them my evidence packet. I have not heard from anyone.
Okay.
And the phone number listed on the appeal doesn't match any of the numbers in the current hearing.
Okay, thank you. Ready? Mr. Wade, was there service provided to this appellant?
The appeal. It does look like the hearing notice was sent to the violation address, not the address on his, appeal.
Okay, and I think Ms. Costello has put on the record that a packet of documents were emailed to the appellant's email address. Is that correct, Ms. Costello?
Yes.
Okay, so I would have, based on that, take it that the person is aware of today's hearing and the timing.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
this is a AIU case. Is anyone there from the audit investigating unit representing?
So I do have Mr. William Fernandez on call and available to testify if they do appear.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Do you know, Ms. Costello, if the individual is represented by legal counsel?
I have not heard anything in regards to that, and this is a corporation, so they would need a legal counsel if they were to appear.
Okay, and I guess I'm wondering whether it's be appropriate to put on the record the level of conversation that the city has had with this individual. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. In this instance, we're going to make a decision. Service has been provided. There has been communication, but no one's present for the appellate. Ms. Costello, what's your preference?
We would ask that you grant city affirm for non-appearance.
Okay, Mr. Pinkins, what time do you have?
2:20 p.m.
2:20 p.m. We will poll the board regarding HA-2021-000216 Yan Feng Zing, 45 North 13th Street, City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much. Let's move on.
That brings us down to case 22.
Okay, let's skip that one. Move on to the next one.
Okay. Case. We resolved case 24, correct?
No, we're going to hear that.
We're going to hear
She's
that.
present.
Okay.
Yes.
Case number 24, hearing appeal number HA 2021-005172, Tatiana Lujaya, 2427 Ash Street.
Okay, I believe that's 2724 Ash Street.
Yes.
Okay. Who's representing the city?
Jeffrey Cohen, members of the board. And I
Mr.
believe
Cohen?
Ms. Lujai is raising her hand so that she can be unmuted.
Okay. Okay. Just a moment, Ms. Lujai, we'll unmute you in a moment. Now, something's happening here technically. She's remuted again.
Yeah, she can unmute.
Ma'am, would you mind unmuting yourself? I think you have control. There
Yes,
you go.
thank you.
Yeah. Would you raise your right hand so you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I
Okay,
swear.
thank you. You can place your hand down. We will proceed with the city beginning and putting its facts on the record, after which you will be asked to share your understanding of the facts before the board votes to determine the outcome of the case, okay? All right, Mr. Cohen, please proceed.
Thank you, members of the board. I do need to preserve the objection to proceeding that because this is untimely, there is a jurisdictional issue. But to do so, I would like to present two items on my screen that I've just gathered that may actually shed additional light on the merits of this case as well as untimeliness.
Okay,
if you'll permit
please.
me,
Please.
I'm going to first share. There we go. Can everyone see this affidavit of service on my screen?
We'll just magnify it a bit, please. Yes.
So this bears the stamp of the Office of Judicial Records of the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas. There was service of a complaint on the appellant, Tatiana Lujai, at 2724 Ash Street on August 9th. It was actually personal service upon her, meaning that she was there at the property at that time.
Okay.
And I'm going to share an additional item on my screen, if you'll please bear with me.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
could you just go back to that for a moment? It means service was made and there was an adult there that accepted it. Was it actually, I didn't look carefully enough.
Oh, then let me please put that back on the screen. Actually, let me proceed with this and then I'll go back to the previous exhibit. So this is, as of 2:01 p.m. today, the Office of Property Assessment printout for the property 2724 Ash Street. And scrolling down on the Office of Property Assessment printout, you can see that a homestead exemption is taken for this property, meaning the appellant does treat this property for tax purposes as her homestead. And with that, at the board member's request, I'm going to put up the affidavit of service again.
Okay.
Board member Pincus, you were pointing out that service on a party at a property doesn't necessarily mean that the party themselves received that service. However, here on the actual affidavit of service, it says there was personal service on Tatiana Lujai, who is the appellant and the owner at this property. So it wasn't on any adult, it was on her specifically on August 9th.
And that was August 9th of
2022 at 10:07 a.m.
Okay.
The reason why I bring this up with respect to timeliness is because the appellant has been residing, or there is evidence showing the appellant has been residing at this property and thus was able to respond to mail sent to the property where she resides and where she represents she receives mail. This also goes toward the merits of the case. If I can just point one thing out in the Blur appeal itself.
Yes.
Can everyone see the exhibits packet that I put on my screen? I'll make it larger, sorry.
Please.
I do want to point out in the exhibits packet that I sent earlier, the subject premises address was incorrect. This is the corrected address, 2724 Ash Street. On the actual appeal form, which was submitted by Ms. Lujai, and I'll make this larger because the text is very small. She says here, I rented it out as a single family dwelling. However, if she is residing there, and as she has said today, there are tenants there, obviously that means there's at least 2 units in the property. So that just based on what we can see from the admissions in the appeal form, plus the affidavit of service, plus the homestead from the OPA website, obviously we see there's more than meets the eye going on at this property. And with that, I would ask the board if it could take make a ruling or take a vote on timeliness. And if the board proceeds forward, we can proceed forward.
Sure. I think based on previous testimony, the board will want to proceed in this matter. Okay.
In that case, is Inspector William Corley here? I believe I saw him in attendance. If he can turn on his camera and unmute.
Is he present, Mr. Cohen, or do you know?
Yes, he's turning on his camera now.
Oh, okay. I see that. Mr. Wade, do you need to unmute him, or should he do that
No,
himself?
he should be able to. I'll send him the message.
There he is.
Okay, I'm here, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that.
Okay. Would you mind adjusting your camera a bit so that the top of your head is cut off at the moment? Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All righty.
And if we
Would you
could
raise your
please
right
have
hand,
the-
Mr. Corley, so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. You can place your hand down. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Inspector. If you could please just tell us how many years you've worked with LNI and in what capacity?
I'm a code enforcement inspector. Been with LNI Code Enforcement since 2015.
Thank you. And with that, I would like to share on my screen the exhibits packet that I actually just had up on screen. Inspector, can you see the exhibits packet?
Yes.
I'm just going to go to the first exhibit, which is pre-labeled as C1. Inspector, can you tell us what this exhibit is?
That's a notice of a violation.
And just for the record, where was the notice of violation mailed?
I didn't do the initial case, but from what we see here, it's at the address of 2724 Ash Street.
And I would just point out for the record, that is the address of the subject premises. And since the appellant appealed a document that was sent to the subject premises, she clearly received mail there. Moving on, what are some of the violations that are listed for this property?
The most significant one is for zoning, a zoning violation, as well as for a CL, a certificate of occupancy, and other minor fire code violations as well.
And if we can just touch on some of the fire code violations, what specifically are these two here? Do you need me to make it larger?
No, actually, I have a copy of it.
Oh, excellent.
Okay. Fire extinguishers must be installed in as well as manual fire alarm boxes for a fire alarm system.
When it says like a pull station, what does that mean, a pull station?
A manual fire alarm box that's a part of a component of the fire alarm system used to pull as a fire starts on in an emergency. It's to notify the police department that there's an actual fire in the premise.
Thank you. And let's see. Here we go. This particular violation here. What is this violation?
Remove combustible storage. That's near the electrical panel. I think that's what's listed here. Like I said, I wasn't the initial inspector, so I'm just going over basically what's here, and I think it's a electric panel violation.
Sorry, go ahead.
For something being, I guess, in the working space of the electrical panel or not having access.
Have you reviewed the Eclipse file for this case that was put together by the initial inspector?
Upon reinspection Friday, yes, I have.
And did you see the initial inspector's photographs taken on October 6th of 2021 that were in the file?
Yes, I have.
And I'm going to scroll now to page 16 in the packet. Pages 16 through 30. I'm just going to scroll through them for the inspector's sake before asking my question. Now, are these 16 through 30 the photographs that were taken by the initial inspector?
Yes, they were.
And are those stored in the Eclipse system?
Yes, they are.
And is that something LNI does in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes, to identify what was seen at time of inspection, it is appropriate to have the pictures.
All right, thank you. Let's go through starting on page 16. Is this an entranceway into 2724 Ash Street?
Yes, that's the front entrance facing Ash Street, actually, the front of the property.
And scrolling now down to page 17, is this a second entrance into 2724 Ash Street?
Yes, that's the side entrance, first floor and basement entrance.
And just quickly, what is this that is hugging the downspout on page 18 in that photograph?
I'm not aware, but I guess it's some kind of, I don't, to be honest, I'm not sure what the initial inspector wrote on that violation there, but I guess it was to some kind of adhesive or something to seal the downspout or help it connect with the downspout cap.
Well,
Or the
actually,
gutter cap, I guess that's what it is to.
if I can jump for a second to page 2 in the packet and bear with me just one moment while I find the citation. We're now on page 4. This violation here. What is this violation?
309. Oh, infestation. Okay, that's okay. There, I guess there must have been a beehive or something to that nature connected to the downspout.
And I'm just going to jump to page 17 again. Oh, sorry, page 18. Could that be a beehive that is referenced by the notice of violation?
Yes, it could have been. Yes.
Thank you. And just scrolling down to page 19, actually, we'll keep scrolling down to page 20. Is this a third entrance to 2724 Ash Street?
It's not an exit. It's actually a balcony, exit to a balcony.
Oh, no, sorry. This doorway here is exit to a balcony?
Yes, on the second floor. Correct.
So this doorway
Right,
is,
leads.
it appears
leads
to be
out.
on the ground, correct?
Yes. I guess
Okay,
that's
there's a
the back
separate-
door exit. Right, that's the
Okay.
back door exit. To the back
And
door.
I
of the
think
property.
what you were talking about in page 22, is this the balcony you were talking about?
Yes, that is
And there's
correct.
a grill on the balcony?
At the time of my inspection, no, there was not.
And just to scroll up a little to page 20, is that the lip of the balcony, that little fence that you can see, and you can see the grill in the photo on page 20, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, just getting an idea of where things are in these photos. Now looking at page 23, we were talking about pull stations earlier. Is
Exactly.
this item here, the red fire alarm box, is that a pull station?
Yes, it is.
So should it be dangling down like that with something tied to the I guess, pulley?
No, it should not. It should not be obstructed at all, and it should be in serviceable condition, meaning it shouldn't have no handles hanging or damaged in any way to
So that-
operate correctly.
So that switch, should it be in the up position when it,
Yes.
there's not an actual fire alarm?
Correct. It should be in the up position at all times, correct.
And
In that
immediate-
position right there, it should be going off. Actually.
Well, would that mean
But
if
since
it-
it's broken, but yes, if it's in that position, that means you're pulling it down to actually operate it or activate it. So it should not be in the down position, correct?
and this beneath the pull station, what is that?
I think that's a portable fire extinguisher.
And does it appear to have a tag in this photograph?
No, it doesn't.
Scrolling down to page 24, what's going on with the ceiling?
From the pictures, it seemed like it was not finished or unfinished drop ceiling. But at the time of my inspection on the 28th, everything was pretty much sealed or in proper order.
And a little further down in the photograph, you see this doorway in the rear of the photo
Yeah.
that has these what look like electrical meters.
Yeah.
What is in front of these meters in the doorway?
It looks like a part of the baluster or the railing that they were going to utilize, or yes, somewhere inside the building or somewhere inside the property.
And scrolling down to page 25.
Mr. Cohen, can I go back? It looks like there's more than one electric meter in that closet. Is that correct?
You're absolutely correct. In fact, I was going to scroll down to page 25 and point out how many electrical meters are there in this photograph, Inspector?
3.
So 3 entrances, 3 electrical meters.
Yes.
And is this, like you were saying, this was a banister or something? Is it blocking access to the electrical panels?
At the time of my inspection, no, I didn't see it.
But in the photograph.
Oh, in the photograph, yes, correct.
Oh, well, I have your photos from your inspection. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Mr. Cohen, I believe that's a bed assembly.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Right.
And scrolling down to page 26, what is that you can see through the bars of the bed assembly?
And that's part of the component to the fire alarm system.
So in this photograph, would the fire alarm be accessible?
No, it would not be.
And just scrolling down to page 27, what is depicted in this photograph with the junction box here?
Yes, an open junction box, but it seemed like open splices, electrical splices there. It looked like some of them are capped off, but yes, it's an open junction box.
Thank you. And page 28, showing a stairwell. Is there anything in particular missing from this stairwell that needs to be there?
Handrail should be there on either side of the stairwell.
And scrolling down to page 29, there's another stairwell in this photo, but is the handrail that you see there affixed to the side of the wall there?
No, it's not.
And in fact, as we scroll down, you can see it sort of hanging on, like leaning against the stairs itself, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it's not affixed, yes.
And well, page 30, we can see what's this depicted at the top of the wall here in page 30.
That looks like a portable smoke detector.
Thank you. And did you in fact go recently to this property?
Yes, on the 28th, Friday, the 28th of this month. Yeah.
Scrolling down to page 31 in the packet.
Last month, I'm sorry, in October. I forgot the day of November.
Sorry,
1st.
last month, but 3
Yes,
days
yes.
ago.
Yes, November the 1st, just today. So yes, last month, Friday, October the 28th.
And did you take photographs of the property on October 28th?
Yes, I did.
And are these, starting on page 31?
Mr. Cohen, before you do that, scroll back up, please, for a moment. And
Yes.
would you mind focusing in on that mailbox for me? Can you magnify
Yes.
that? I just want to see what's written, if it's possible. Oh, that's the name of the street, 2724. Okay,
Yes,
I'm
that's
satisfied.
that's the front entrance facing Ash Street. Actually, that's facing Ash Street.
Okay.
The front entrance of the property.
Okay.
And just to
Mr.
compare
Cohen?
this, oh, sorry.
I'm
I
sorry.
was asking a
Mr. Cohen?
question.
Yes, Mr. Tennant from the board. Could you, for a brief moment, stroll back up to picture number 25 or page number 25?
Absolutely.
Okay, and this is in reference to Mr. Chair brought out. I believe those meters may be marked. Does that say APTF?
Let's zoom in.
Sorry to see.
APF,
Yeah, okay.
APT,
Apartment
and then one
and-
says 2
Okay.
floor.
One
All
would
right.
represent the front of the apartment, which is the front that we actually seen in the display, the pictures in the front of the property facing Ash Street. That I guess that will represent the front apartment, as well as the one to your right will represent the second floor.
Thank you.
And actually, if I can very briefly go to page 16. This just again was the property as it was a year ago, October 6th of 2021, the front of the property. And jumping down to page 31, did the property have this siding a year ago?
negative from the initial photos from the initial inspector. No, the siding was not on the property. But it was there on the 28th when I took those photos there.
And when someone installs siding, do they need to get even just an easy permit to, easy permit for siding on the exterior of property?
Yes, I'm sure, right. Some form of permit should have been issued for.
Was there any permit applied for or issued for the siding?
No, there was nothing in the system stating that, no.
And one further observation, it would appear, though it's hard to not, that this motorcycle that's in front of the unit today or on October the 28th, at least in color and style, appears to be similar to the motorcycle that was in front of the unit a year ago. Would that be?
You
Yes,
are
that is
correct.
correct. Yeah.
We can, and just jumping back, we can see sort of I would say an auburn and black motorcycle. And this is the October 6th, 2021 photo. And then jumping forward to 3 days ago, we see the same auburn and black colored motorcycle. Or we say auburn and black colored motorcycle that appears to be the same.
Okay.
And now scrolling down to page 32, is this the side entrance to 2724?
Correct, that's the side entrance leading to the basement and the first floor.
And were you
the
actually
property.
able to get inside 3 days ago?
Yes, I was able to get inside. The occupant of the property came to the door and allowed me to go in and do the inspection.
Well, were you able to get inside the front unit and the side door?
No, the front unit, no one answered the front unit. And when I went in through the side door, it has a party wall, not allowing me to go through the front. So I know that actually that part is separate. The front is separated from this entrance here.
So there is at least one separation internally between units.
Yes.
And just scrolling down here, what is depicted here in the 33rd page, one of your photographs from 3 days ago?
Okay, that's coming down the steps from that actual side door. That's the stairwell leading down to the basement.
And is there a banister here?
No, there isn't.
And what's depicted in this photograph?
That's the actual basement, the bedroom in the basement.
Now, if I look at this doorway here, it has those two sort of small windows at the top side of the door. Is that
would lead-
correct?
Yes, and that would lead out the actual back door.
I was actually
the
going to do
property.
exactly that, jumping up to page 21.
Right.
Is that the same door just from the other side?
Yes,
Where you
correct.
can see the two windows up at the top of the door here.
Yes, that is correct.
Sorry, I jumped one ahead. Now scrolling down to page 35, what's depicted in this photograph?
That is the kitchen and appliances in the basement. The basement
So there's
unit.
So there's a kitchen with a stove, a fridge, and a sink in the basement.
And a full bathroom, yes.
And then scrolling down to page 36, what is depicted here?
That's the first floor bathroom and kitchen and appliances.
So there's a separate fridge, stove, and sink,
Yes,
one floor up.
yes, correct.
But before you
and I-
move on, Mr. Cohen, Mr. Coley, is that the same living unit with two kitchens?
Yes, that's the same. Yes, the same unit. Yes,
And so that living unit has two separate kitchens,
yes. Two separate bathrooms, two separate bedrooms. Yes, it's two separate units. Correct.
and there's a separate bedroom on the first floor,
Correct. Yes, it is.
first floor rear.
First floor rear. Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
As well as the basement. Yes, it has.
Okay,
I was
bedroom.
actually about to ask the inspector. So it appears that the rear unit, which is comprised of multiple floors with multiple kitchens, bathrooms, etc. If you were to put in a party wall, just non-load bearing party wall, could you split that up into two units?
Yes,
So essentially, this is a 2-unit building that could be split into 3 with just a very simple addition. Not
Yes,
even
it
addition,
is.
a very simple adding a wall.
yes, yes, it is.
Now, if you'll permit me, Scrolling down to page 37, we're going to go through the zoning archive, if you bear with me. Inspector, this document that I have on screen, what is this document?
That is the zoning permit, or the use permit for the property, describing the property.
And what's this date here on this stamp? I can make it larger if you need.
No, it says the zoning was issued on March the 25th of 1997.
And what is allowed under this zoning permit?
Single family dwelling.
And I'm going to scroll down. Bear with me one moment to page 42. What is this document that I'm showing on my screen? And I'll zoom in just to make the text larger.
That's the notice of refusal on the application for the use of a 3-family dwelling that was submitted.
What's the application date?
That's August the 23rd of 2002.
And just for
I'm
the
sorry,
record,
July 23rd of 2002. I'm sorry.
And just for the record, is the application number 0207233037?
Yes, that is correct.
And this was submitted by the appellant, correct? Tatiana Lujai?
Yes, that is the property owner's name. Yes.
And she sought, I think you were saying, she sought what? To
Convert or get zoning from the single family dwelling to a 3-family dwelling.
Here it is. Whereas this use, a 3-family dwelling, is not permitted.
Yeah, correct.
If you'll bear with me, let's scroll down to page 43. What is this document that I have on screen?
The petition of appeal for the refusal.
So this was
family dwelling.
So in 2002, this refusal was appealed to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, correct?
Yes, correct.
And Tatiana Lujai was the appellant on this appeal, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And let's go down to page 45. What is this document that I'm showing on screen?
It's the same, but a notice of decision for the refusal for the zoning of the 3-family dwelling.
Well, the date of decision, it appears, is September 30th of 2002. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the variance was refused.
Yes, the variance was refused. Correct.
Let's scroll down to page 46. What is this that I'm showing on screen?
The refusal notice, yes, for the application for the change of use from the single family to 3-family.
And just to speed this process up, is the date of this refusal March 1st of 2007?
Yes, it is.
An application number 57504. In the upper right corner, does it say
yes.
application?
57504, correct.
And was it also submitted by the appellant, Tatiana Lujai?
Yes, the owner, yes.
And again, on page 47, what do we have here?
Petition of appeal, right, to legalize the property from a single family to a 3-family dwelling.
And if you'll permit me, we have to jump around a little bit. Sorry, here we go. On page 49, what is this document?
Oh, that's the decision, the refusal of a zoning.
So is the date of this decision June 19th of 2007?
Yes.
And the variance was again denied?
Yes, it was, yeah.
And then scrolling down here, and I'll just make this a little smaller. So is this a third refusal that's more recently issued?
Yes.
And what's the date of this refusal?
October 18th, 2022.
And is the appellant also the applicant here for this refusal?
Yes.
And again, is the applicant trying to make this a three-family dwelling?
Yes,
And just to collect all of these records, everything from page 37 to the current page, which are exhibits C5 through C12 in the packet, are these documents that LNI keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
yes,
And
Yes.
are the information that goes into these documents is provided by people with direct knowledge?
yes, it is.
Then at this point, the city has no further questions for the inspector, and I would move that the city's exhibits C3 through C12 be admitted into evidence at this time.
So admitted. Ms. Luzai, do you have any questions of the inspector based on his testimony? Keep in mind that you will be permitted and requested to give your version of the facts in a moment, but do you have any questions of the inspector?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I actually have some comments to do in regards to that.
Well, I'm asking if you have any specific questions. Your general comments
So-
you can give in a moment, but do you have any specific questions of based on his testimony?
So for the question, I actually not sure if I spoke to the Inspector William Corley or I spoke to someone else in regards to coming and inspect it when I was at the property to make sure that, you know, we fix the violation that are not, that's supposed to be up to code. So I could not,
I'm asking if you don't have any questions
they
based on his testimony today, that's fine. We'll just move on
so
after the
they
city is
told
finished.
me that I do not need to have this alarm because this alarm, fire alarm
Miss,
was
wait,
not.
Miss, what is the question you're asking him?
So because they told me that the alarm system, which not function over 22 years, don't have to be like fixed because it's not fixable. We kept it as a decoration. We just didn't want it to remove it. So that what I'm trying to point out. And they said it's not required.
Are you asking
by
Mr.
law
Coley?
to have this? Yeah,
Miss Lucia, are you asking Mr. Coley if the code requires the alarm system?
exactly.
Okay, Mr. Coley, what is your response?
It was told to the property owner that if she had components of a fire alarm system, that it has to be serviceable. And if she wanted to remove it, she would have to put in for a variance to have it removed.
It was not a functional, yeah, totally not functional. Since we obtained the property, this alarm system cannot be restored as
Yeah, I
it's
think his response
never-
to you is that you have to remove it. And there's a specific process for removing it. Do you have any other
Mhm.
questions for the inspector?
No, that's it.
Okay, Mr.
I
Cohen,
do
you have
have a-
anything else?
Yes, just a follow-up question based on what we were talking about the fire alarm. If there are in fact multiple units in this structure, forgetting for the moment that they need to be legalized, there needs to be a use permit, a certificate of occupancy. With multiple units, is there a requirement to have a working fire alarm system?
Depending on the square footage of the property. Not necessarily because it's multiple units, but they have to come into, you know, it has to be over, I guess, 2,000 square foot.
And would that, if this property went through the zoning and building permitting process, would that evaluation be part of the review to figure out the full square footage and whether a fire alarm was required?
Yes, I would guess that would go under with the CO as well, yes.
Thank you very much, Inspector. I have no further questions.
I do. Mr. Coley, were you able to confirm if the 3 units were occupied on your inspection?
Yes, the 2 individual units in the side, in the rear, in the basement portion, I was able to get in, but the front of the property, I was not able to get in to verify the occupancy of it or the residency of it. But like I said, it had a party wall blocking it off, so it is separated for another unit. Now,
What
whether or
about the
not
upper
someone's
level?
in there, I'm not sure.
What about the upper level?
Yes, there is 2 separate units inside the building, yeah.
Well, no, you already answered the question I asked. The question I'm asking, were you able to confirm that someone lived on the second floor?
Yes,
How many units do you believe were on the second floor?
it was 2 bedrooms, 1 unit. And like I said, 1 kitchen, 1 bathroom, and 2 bedrooms. Yes,
And there was evidence that someone was living in that space.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused. Is there one dwelling more or less on Ash Street that is 2 or 3 stories? And then there's a side attached unit that's separated by a wall that has.
Maybe
2
I can answer that
Oh, no,
question
no,
to
no,
help.
no.
I'm asking the inspector what his observations are.
Sure.
No, it's one single family property that has been converted into 2 units on the side. I would say the first floor level and the basement has been converted into a separate unit. And the front of the building actually would be a living room in a single family dwelling. It's cut off from the rest of the building.
Thank you.
And what's
With a
the
party room.
access to the second level? How do you gain access to the second level?
Through the side door and the rear door. You can go, as soon as you walk into the side door, you can go on the first floor level and also walk up to the next level and down to the basement.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Cohen?
Not for this witness. Thank you very much, Inspector Corley.
You're welcome.
You have other witnesses, sir?
No, the city rests except for argument, and I
Okay.
believe Ms. Lujai may want to provide testimony.
Ms. Luzai, is your opportunity now to share with us what the status of this property.
Okay, so number 1, I would like to mention that I was never served the documents at this property. In August, I did not reside in this property, and when I file an appeal, I did mention that my address currently was my mom in Hadborough because I rent this house because I needed a supplement income to support myself during going through the baby and delivery. And right now I am at this situation. So when at this time I do have this property occupied, there is a family who is renting the what is supposed to called second floor and the back rear door apartment, which I would like to mention, I never done any structural changes. I never built any doors since over 22 years as I own this property. I just want to make this to understand from beginning that as any other property has front and a back door. Originally this property, if you actually go back to the drawing, and it's on a page 37, which is Mr. Cohen showed you on that.
Mr. Cohen, would you
I
accommodate?
was about to ask, yes.
Page 37, please. So here, if you scroll a little bit up, where is a previously use of this property, it's saying the opposite. No. A little bit, so we can see here.
Is
Yes.
this present
So
use,
if you
proposed
see,
use?
it was actually application for the antenna, radio antenna for the zoning board. And if you see the last previous use of the property was a grocery store on the first floor and one family dwelling on the second floor, which was actually original Heinz grocery store back in the days in the 90s, 80s over there for the first floor. And second, the existing kitchen on the second floor was actually one family dwelling. So the previous owner, when we purchased it, we didn't know like a lots of situation about the zoning and these things. When we apply for it, because we wanted to have everything in accordance with the law, on the taxes, I mean, I have some picture that I can share if you don't mind with board members.
Before you do that, Ms. Lacasia, you started the train of thought and you didn't finish it. You began telling us about the occupancy of the building, but you only told us about one unit. What about the other units in the building?
So when we purchased, it's already were separated, but apparently it was not legalized. So the grocery store was converted, I assume, into those apartments.
Okay, so my question to you is, today, how many units do you have in the building and are they occupied?
So at this point, we have one unit on front, which is unoccupied. And because I have unit back and up, second and third. So let's say like that one front unit, if I show you picture by the meters, I mean, maybe easier to understand. So where those meters goes, and the family live on the second floor and the rear, I mean, they're a big family who occupy two units on the second floor and the rear units of the property.
Okay, so your testimony is that although the building is configured to accommodate 3 different families, you currently only have 2 families living in the building.
At this moment, I have one family living in the building.
But okay. But what about the basement unit? Is that occupied?
So the basement unit is actually, there is no really basement. Everybody has a portion of a basement, the second floor and the rear.
That space in the basement that has a bathroom, a bedroom and a kitchen.
No, it's not a basement. It's not a basement. In the basement, only a laundry room. So the actual bedroom is on the second floor of the rear from the backyard. I mean, I could kind of, explain that.
Well, let me ask.
I mean, they have a basement that there is a door, which actually separates those.
Okay, let's do this. Mr. Cohen, if you could put up that image of the side entrance, please.
Mr. Chair, I have a question while we do
If
that.
I can ask which photograph, because we have the interior.
Yeah, so this is a
looking at-
rear. It's not a basement. Yes, you see the door. Actually, Mr. Cohen pointed out on the back of it that 2 of those windows and a bedroom showing that it's an entrance of the backyard.
Okay, let's go to the side, the exterior entrance, the exterior. Mr.
So the exterior of that was old image.
I think he passed it.
Is this it?
Here's this image, correct?
Now that's the rear. I want the side.
It is a rear.
I want the side image comes out into the sidewalk. There you go. You just passed.
This
Yeah,
one?
this
that
one, yeah.
one. Okay, when you go in that door, Ms. Lusich, when you go in that door,
Mhm.
you have the option of walking downstairs or walking upstairs, correct?
Exactly.
Downstairs, when you go downstairs from that door, what do you see?
When you go downstairs, I mean, I can show you my image if you want to, that helps.
Well, describe it for us first.
So this is actually stairs. You go to the utility room where we had pool table. There was at that moment where I occupied the property, and where's electric meters there,
So-
and a laundry room there in a basement.
So in your testimony is that there is no space downstairs that's livable to sleeping quarters or food preparation or anything of that sort.
No, we don't have any of that. As you know, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to control everything when the tenants live there, because it's not me who live there. So I can have some inspections once in a while, but how people use those rooms sometimes it's out of my control. I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Lukaj, I have a question for you. You keep using the term tenants, but at least from the files, it appears that the use of this property has never been permitted for anything other than as a single family residence. But you've had tenants in the property for the entire time that you've owned it. Is that correct?
So how to say
Yes
it?
or
I
no?
mean,
Is that correct? Yes or no?
I mean, yes and no, because I was off and on from the property. I don't leave all the time, so I do rent it out. I had rented, like, you know, rooms for people when I live in there to my friends and my family. So it's not like really tenants, but yeah.
So the answer is yes, I believe, Mr. Pincus. It's been
So
into that multiple
Not
times.
only that, it's indicated that the rooms have been rented in the property, which
Yeah,
would
that's correct.
typically be another.
yeah, because it's a hardship to the property to keep the property not occupied is destroyed. The property built in 1900s.
Okay.
So if you don't use rooms, not ventilate them, not heated them, they start getting deteriorated. And
Ms. Lucas, do you have any other documents you want to share with us?
yes,
Any
of
other
course.
Okay. What do you have documents on your screen that you can share a screen, or how you want to present that?
Let's share a screen. Maybe this way would be easier to reach out to those documents that I have.
Mr. Chair, I have a question both for the appellant and for the inspector. If Inspector Coley's still there, and it's just one question. I want to
Yes.
verify the number of stoves in the property. And that's a question for you to appellant and inspector. How many stoves are in the property?
I was only able to see two separate kitchens with stoves, with full gas stoves, and full appliances as far as sinks, refrigerators, so forth. So I was only able to see two.
Thank
I
you.
wasn't able to get to the front to see the third one, but yes, I did witness two, and I took pictures. Those are two separate kitchens.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Coley,
On two
you did,
separate floors, on two
Okay.
separate floors.
your testimony, Mr. Coley, was that when you entered the side door,
Yeah.
you were able to go downstairs, and downstairs you saw a bed and a kitchen and a bathroom.
Yes,
Okay, all right, just want to be clear. Ms.
Was there a
Luquette, you have
stove down
information?
there, sir? Inspector Coley, was a stove downstairs? Sorry, Mr. Chair.
yes,
There was a stove downstairs. Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Lucas,
Excuse
you
me.
had photographs to share with us? Did you want to share, Ms. Lucas?
Yes, so it might be very
Excuse me, Mr. Chair,
confusing to miss.
I would like for the appellant to answer the question, how many,
yeah, I was-
how many stoves are in,
Sure.
are
We
in
can,
there?
yeah, I was just giving her an opportunity to get her photos up while we were asking the other questions. So it won't delay things. Ms. Lucas, let's do this. If you could put up your images and then answer the question that was raised regarding the number of stoves, okay? But let's get your images up first if you have them.
So unfortunately, I don't have images of a stove because that was never on my violation
No.
prior.
That's not what I'm
But
asking.
there
The
is a
images
three
that you wanted to show
stoves
us.
in the
Whatever,
apartment.
whatever
Yeah.
images you want to show, please put them up so that way we can then ask you other questions. How's that?
Okay, so this is a stairs which are leading to the third floor of the apartment, which is one railing was showing that it's not handed
but
and we
Ms.
actually.
Lucas, the problem is you don't have permission to share a screen. I guess, Mr. Wade, do you know how to do that?
Okay,
There's a share screen option that should give you permission to do
share
that.
screen, let's do that and share, let's do that. Can you see it now?
Yes, now we can see it. Okay.
So this is the stairs, which is might feels like it's apartment. I don't mind if any inspector would come when I'm present so I can show the property, because when somebody got from the rear or the side door, it's a little bit confusing how they got into the bedroom and where is everything located, because it's actually on the ground floor. So this is a stairs that goes into the basement. So they show which is railing is there present. So we fix that because when the previous tenants lived there, they were moving the furniture and the railing fell off, like.
Okay.
Anyway.
Now, the question for you, how many stoves do you have in the building? Cooking appliances? Do you
So
have any?
there is 3 stoves in that building, correct?
Okay. All right.
So, and apparently the people who live there, they use the 2 different kitchens because the lady one was a baby live on the 2nd floor and she used her kitchen, and they use the second kitchen on the 1st floor of a rear apartment. So stair on this, I assume so, but let me show you. So this is in regards to all that railing that we have. Is there, so the ceiling was actually also fixed because it's not us, but the tenants removed the ceiling pieces. I don't know why. So
What was the
after
date of
ten-
these photographs? What's the date of these photographs?
I did them shortly after they move out, the tenants, the previous that we had issue of last year back in,
Okay, that's not helping me with the
November.
date. And we need a date for the purposes of the record.
So I just make a fresh pictures because I actually saw that inspector gonna come to the property and view all of this after I saw exhibition and the pictures were not there, so I made the picture just recently.
That
On
still isn't
Sunday.
helping us in terms of an exact date. I need a date.
And Sunday.
Sunday of which month or which week?
8th of October 27.
Okay. Is your testimony, all of these images are from October 27th?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Of 2022.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So this original meters that we got from the day we purchased the property, so we
okay.
never
Can I just-
alternate.
Can I make a point for the board?
yes.
This particular Sunday was October 30th. I'm not sure what. October 27th wouldn't have been the Sunday.
Yeah, I apologize. That's
Okay.
right. So I missed the date. I was looking on November instead of the October. That's right. That was Sunday,
Okay.
October 30th.
Just for
Correct.
the purposes of the record.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
that's
Please correct your
correct.
record.
And just to make sure, that photograph shows 3 separate electric meters.
Yes, it does.
Right.
To match up with the 3 stoves.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Lukic, that we haven't seen that we need to see?
So as you see those meters, so you see there is nothing blocking in there after the people moved out and I was able to get access to that property. So I was trying to make sure that the tenants don't keep anything where they not supposed to. So according to everything what Mr. Cohen said, so was a cable box that were showing cables are not correctly displayed. So what I have, when I was trying to rent the property, I get the lead certificate, wherever it was required by the LNI. Then I also
But Ms. Lopez, let me ask you a question.
something,
That certificate. you
rental
presented-
suitability were
Ms.
received.
Lukic, you
from
have to
the-
listen now. One of the board members is trying to ask you a question.
That certificate you presented, at least there's a certificate of rent, you would attach to your appeal, number 1, a rental license certificate from September 2nd, 2021, that lists the number of units as 1, not 3.
Actually, because I rented 1 unit at that time for the family, so that's why it was
And the
like that. I mean,
certificate
as
of
a-
rental suitability that you also submitted as part of your exhibit package from
That's-
11/3 of 2021 was for only 1 unit, but you.
That's correct.
But you have
That's
utilities,
correct.
you have 3 units in the property, is that correct?
Yeah, but yes, that's right. I have 3 units, but I was renting 1 unit, so that's how
Okay.
they gave it to me. So what we have here, like also if you see from City of Philadelphia, that they call it multifamily, and it was 1819.
I would object to this particular exhibit because it's the valuation of the property. It doesn't have anything to do specifically with the layout or the zoning of the property.
So noted. So let's move on to another matter, another piece.
So then I also have at some point, I mean, for the trash department collection, they also call it multifamily. And
Ms.
then I
Lukic,
also had
I
from the
think it's,
LN9,
Ms.
at
Lukic, I
some
think,
point, they had 2
Ms.
4
Lukic,
units
Ms.
owner
Lukic?
occupied housing license.
Ms. Lukic, you have to pay attention to, as we're directing traffic here. Those other extraneous documents don't go to the legal definition of the property. I think on the record, you've indicated that it's a 3-unit building, and at various times you've rented out more than 1 unit. The zoning for it is single family. So that hasn't changed. And those other matters don't change the zoning. Those other documents that you presented do not change the zoning. Okay, you understand?
Yeah, but what I'm trying to tell, so sometimes it's confusing for me
Oh,
because
no,
on different.
I think it's clear. The zoning is very clear and you presented the zoning documents is clear. What you cannot do is use those non-zoning related documents to justify using it as a multifamily property. That's what you have to understand.
So that's why I'm trying to go back to the zoning board with my another appeal to LNI rejection because there is circumstances changed at the zoning board when we used to present it back in 2007. In terms of, I just applied back to going back to in front of the zoning board to present that legalizing three family again.
Okay, it's been rejected multiple times. I'm not sure what they'll do this time, but that's separate from what
I
we
mean,
have to decide today.
and
That's not
back
our
in the-
argument today. Okay.
Yeah, but back in the days, they didn't want to have apartments there because they believed that it's ruined the value of
may
the
have, and-
neighborhood.
Yeah, they may have changed their minds. I don't know. But that's between you, your legal counsel, and the zoning board. We there's nothing for us to add to that today. There's
Excuse me,
nothing we can
Mr.
do.
Chair, I
Yes, sir.
got two questions.
Yes.
Who is Capital Keep LLC?
This is my company that I opened back in 2016.
And this building, I mean, this property is represented by your company?
So no, we never changed that to my company. I wanted at some point, but after that, they advised me if I will be changing it to an LLC, I would always have to be represented by attorney, and I didn't have this sources to be able to pay for the attorney. So I decided not to switch it and keep it at my personal name.
In 2016, the property was listed under Capital Keep LLC?
No, property was never listed. I was
If I
only
could interject about the,
operated as a property manager under the company.
if I could interject about the type of document that's currently on screen. This is a commercial activity license. So it's essentially like saying, my company, Capital Keep LLC, wants to do business in the city.
Okay, so my next question would be, do you believe that the inspector is submitting the wrong information? Are you challenging the inspector's report?
So the inspector, he saw a few things. I mean, first of all, it was a different inspector that was initially writing all those violations.
Are you saying that those violations did not exist from just looking at the pictures? Are you saying those violations didn't exist?
We fixed all those violations as soon as
No,
they were.
no. That was my question.
Yes.
Your testimony is these violations did not exist. A reason why I'm asking you that question is because if these violations did exist and and that's what you are appealing, I'm just trying to get clear of you telling me now that, okay, it's fixed, but the inspector inspected the property. He found these violations. He gave you the violations. And you just waited to now to, I guess, give us information on the corrections.
Correct.
Because I don't see anything from the records I'm looking at that the inspector haven't been back out there. You haven't put any. I know even with electric boxes, you have to get permits.
I never was putting them in.
Huh?
I mean, I never put those electric boxes. They were 22 years ago when I purchased this property.
Because
original.
It looks different. It looks different than the pictures that the inspector gave us. Because even on the pictures that your inspector gave us, also had the little red box down there with the fire alarm, which is not on your pictures.
Yeah, because those fire alarms, they are not functional.
Okay, but I think what we are is look at you have some violations that have not been addressed. And whether you understand it or not, they still exist as violations. So it really has to be a re-inspection to clear up any violations that have been corrected and to restate those that are still there. And the issue becomes, The issue
If it's-
becomes where, the issue becomes why appeal, what's the basis of the appeal? If you
Yeah.
acknowledge the violations are there, what's the basis of the appeal?
Because I was trying to schedule the reinspection, but the reinspector told me they're not gonna come in. Like, I don't know why.
But he did
I
come.
could, yeah, they come in, but never schedule it with me when the tenant was there. The tenant later for the reinspection, and I wanted to schedule myself. I don't know what happened there.
It's not a matter of whether it's the person in the property, it's the violations that are at the property. And from the photos Mr.
So-
Cohen presented and your photos, they still exist. In addition to that, that alarm system is a 22-year-old alarm system, but that electrical panel box is not from 22 years ago.
No, it is. I never changed anything. I swear from the
verify that
20
with-
years
Verify.
when I got this
document-
property, I never touched anything there.
No,
As
just
a,
verify it with the documents from the third-party electrical examiner or from PICO to the department.
I would love to if
But
I
that's
can.
still a
provide
violation
it.
for the zoning that they're writing you for.
Of course, during 22 years, the PICO replace the meters. They do come and replace the meters as the meters get out of, they become
Okay.
old. So
I
the
can-
PICO
I can
company
accept that.
come in and replace them, but I
can
didn't
accept that.
personally.
I can
Okay,
accept
let's-
that. Mr.
okay.
Chair, back
Yes,
to your
sir.
question. I'm right there with you on that question. What are we?
Okay.
appealing?
Okay.
If
Well,
we
all right,
could-
but Ms. Lukash, I just want to clarify. You didn't replace the meters, but the meters have been replaced in the course of the last 22 years. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, this is correct.
That's
They've
all
been
you have to
by
say.
the PICO company, yes.
Right.
Okay.
So if
They're not
we
from
could
22
focus,
years
the
ago.
electrical meters aren't specifically at issue here. What they represent, however, is that this property is not properly zoned for what it's actually being used for. And I just don't want us to go on too many tangents.
Correct.
There are other
Okay,
people
let's do this. Ms. Lucas, do you have any additional information to share with us before we summarize this matter and come to a conclusion?
So I guess nothing at this.
Okay.
No, that's fine. I mean, this is all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Chair,
I
can
guess the other question for you, Ms. Lucas, are you currently a resident of Philadelphia or not?
So currently I do not reside in Philadelphia. I live outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, now
With my
have you
mom.
given your current address to the city and other authorities that you're using for this property?
Yes, so in regards to my address, as I file appeal, I did mention that I do not live at this property and at this moment, yes. And actually I was putting this property for sale for over a year also.
Okay, well, that's irrelevant to our discussion. The point is that just please make certain that LNI and law department and others have your current mailing address so that all communications can be sent to you to the correct place. Mr. Tennant, do you have any questions before I ask for the final argument?
No, I just wanted to clarify with Mr. Cohen that he is correct. And my point was, if this is a single family use that she's there, then the removal of the additional electric meters would be proper representation of how she's saying to use from 2 down to 1, as well as the stoves. So Mr. Cohen, you are correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's now move on to final comments then. What we're going to do, Mr. Lucas, what this means is that the city's lawyer will summarize his findings and make a recommendation to us. Do you have a very short final statement that will help us understand what's going on here before we proceed? Then I'll ask
Yes.
Mr. Cohen to conclude.
So this property cannot exist as a single family. I did consult with an architect and they said it's going to be like a train. So nobody wanted this property because originally the apartment was on the 2nd floor and there was a grocery store downstairs for that unit. So this is the problem why I want to go back to the zoning board, because the rules changed during that years in accordance to the need for those type of small apartments and housing for the low income people is very important right now. So, and as you saw, I did keep the house in very good condition as I have access to it and I'm able to fix it. I would like to have this property up to the code. The totally remodeling of the property is a huge hardship to that property because you cannot really use it efficiently.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cohen?
Thank you. Discussion of hardships isn't really apt before this board. It's more for the zoning board when you're actually applying for changing a particular use. But what we can see from the records here is for the past 20 years, the appellant has tried to change the use to a 3-family dwelling and was consistently denied. The current use of the property from that 1997 use permit is single family with ham radio operator. It was previously a mixed use, but it is now currently, as the inspector has testified, he went through the back half of the property and found essentially 2 dwelling units combined into one. All that would need to happen is adding one non-load bearing wall to turn it into 2 separate dwelling units. That should not exist because there is no use permit, there is no certificate of occupancy. And that's really what we're talking about here, is going through the process and going through the zoning and building permitting processes, because that's when the city gets to check for safety issues. Those fire alarm components that the appellant admits are non-functional. It's through that process, through the building permitting process, that the city would probe, is a fire alarm required? Does it need to be in a particular fashion for a mixed use or for a multifamily dwelling? What components need to be there and in what working order? So that's what needs to happen. And that's unfortunately what the appellant has not done, essentially for 20 years, as she's been trying to push this 3-family dwelling use through a zoning board that does not want this use. So there are some violations that, if the inspector were allowed to fully re-inspect, could be marked complied. For example, the obstruction of the electric meters in the basement. There's a photograph not taken by the inspector showing no more obstructions. So there are certain things that could be marked complied, but the big things, the lack of a fire alarm system, lack of a use permit, lack of a certificate of occupancy, those things are still in violation. So on the whole, this should be marked city affirmed, because the city does need to enforce these rules and does need to make sure that this property is safe for the occupants that are currently in it, even though the property has not been fully inspected and does not have a CO. So that is why the city requests that the board mark this city affirmed today.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now poll the
Wade,
board.
excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Wade, could you clear her screen, please?
Oh. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. So we will poll the board regarding HA-2021-005172, Tatiana Lukic at 2724 Ash Street, City Affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Beverly, I think that you're muted.
I apologize. City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Thank you very much. The vote is city affirmed, Ms. Lukic. That means the city's position prevails. You may appeal our decision if you choose. And if you need some information about it, submitting an appeal, check with the office, with the Illinois Administrator's Office, and they will give you the information required to submit the appeal. Thank you very much for your participation and your cooperation. Have a good day. Let's move on to the next matter.
I have this down at, we're still leaving case 22, Scheffenbach, we're
Yes.
still leaving that alone. Okay.
Yes.
It brings us to case 29. Appeal number 718390. John Ross, 3523 Kensington Avenue.
Okay, I believe though that's the case number. The appeal number
I'm sorry,
is-
appeal number 39920.
Yes.
I was a bit confused for a second there. This is Jeffrey Cohen. It's my case as well.
Oh, Jeffrey, good afternoon, Mr. Cohen. Who's
afternoon.
representing John Ross? Is
I
Mr. John
believe,
Ross present?
Mr. Maynard is here by phone, 416-7855.
Okay,
But I am here. I apologize. For some reason, I have no internet access on my laptop today from home, but I did yesterday.
Okay, Mr. Maynard, and you are representing Mr. Ross?
Correct.
Is Mr. Ross present today?
I believe we have a representative for Mr. Ross here today.
Okay, is this a company, just for clarity's sake, is this a corporate entity?
It's my understanding that the property is owned by John Ross, the individual.
Okay, well, if Mr. Maynard is his counsel, so we will go with that. Mr. Maynard, are you prepared to move forward?
If I could inquire, is Evan Graham participating?
There is a Graham whose image is showing. I don't know what his relationship is to this matter, though.
He's
He's an
nodding.
authorized representative.
Could we have him unmuted, please?
Okay, we're gonna, he's muted, Mr. Maynard, we will unmute him. And Mr. Grant, yes. Now, Mr. Maynard, you will be calling him as a witness? Is that your plan?
Correct.
Okay, all right, so let's do this. Mr. Cohen, do you also have witnesses?
Yes, I do have Inspector Audrey Smith here.
Okay.
Inspector Smith, if you could.
Mr. Chairman, before the matter proceeds, I just want to put on the record that I checked my files, and in the year 2017, I actually provided counsel, not directly to Mr. Ross, but it was to an LLC on matters which involved code enforcement. But it was in 2017. It's not the property that is before us for consideration, and it's not Mr. Ross himself personally, but was for an LLC for which he was probably the sole member. But I just want to put that on the record that I have had historically some involvement with Mr. Ross, as well as Mr. Graham, who's appearing or who may appear as a witness today.
Okay.
But I don't see that it presents a need for me to recuse myself from the matter.
Thank you for noting that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, board member.
Yes. So I just, Mr. Cohen, before one additional preliminary matter, are the city's okay with Mr. Maynard appearing via phone without his image showing?
So long as Mr. Maynard has the copy of the PDF that I emailed him, I believe, yesterday or last week.
Yes, I did receive that.
Okay, so then I can just call out what page I'm showing. And even if you can't see it on the, on the Zoom screen, you have the PDF in front of you and you can follow along.
Actually, I don't have it in front of me. I have it in my office, but I was going to print it out again today at home, but I have no internet access for some
Well, Mr.
reason.
Maynard, I guess the question to you is whether you feel you're sufficiently prepared to proceed.
Well, I would say no. If I was able to print those documents out, I printed them out in my office, but I didn't really look through them. I was going to do that today.
Mr.
But
Maynard, what I'm
unfortunately-
asking you is, are you prepared to proceed, yes or no? So if you can't proceed, then that's a different position. So that's what we're asking.
Yeah, I can't proceed because I can't follow along with those documents that I don't have in front of me.
Well, if the city can present, there is a strictly legal argument that the city can present at this point as to why this should be marked city affirmed.
Okay.
And that shouldn't require too much. Well, it will require looking at documents that have been emailed to Mr. Maynard before, but these documents are of record and are either court documents that Mr. Maynard had in his possession or are blur documents that, again, Mr. Maynard had in his possession.
Okay, before we proceed, I'm going to ask Mr. McSherry to give some advice here.
I mean, I would have to say if the appellant feels he's not prepared to proceed with this matter, then he's essentially saying he's unprepared today. I don't know if it would be appropriate to continue through it without him seeing the documents, and him essentially he's essentially saying it's as if he's not here today. If he can't follow along with the documents and make the arguments he intended to make and the statements he intended to make if he did have access to those.
Okay,
I would point out for the record, this appeal number is 399920, which means it predates the Eclipse system, which was put in place in March 2020. In fact, this appeal is from a notice of intent to cease that was issued in February of 2020. So this appeal has been a long time coming. It is not a surprise to either Mr. Maynard or Mr. Ross that this appeal was scheduled for today and was going to be heard today. It was not a surprise that it was scheduled to be heard at all because they filed this 2 years ago, and it is their appeal, not the city's.
Okay.
So they're
I
the ones
noticed
who have the
this-
burden of being prepared.
Correct, absolutely. And the expectation is board that legal counsel would always be prepared. And if he himself can't do it, someone else in his office should be able to handle it. But I guess what I'm also saying to you and that I'm concerned about is whether or not we are creating a bigger problem by proceeding if counsel has on the record that he isn't prepared to represent his client appropriately. That's my concern. That's one other question. Is this building that's occupied and operating? Knows the intent to cease?
So the intent to cease was issued again February of 2020, but the actual underlying violations that are the subject and the reason for the intent to cease were marked city affirmed by Blur, and they were appealed to the Court of Common Pleas, and that appeal was dismissed. So the violations underlying this notice of intent to cease are admitted.
Okay.
So because they are admitted, and by operation of law, the notice of intent to cease that is based on them the underlying violations must be deemed admitted. Therefore, there's not much to do here today.
Okay. Given all of that, we're going to continue this case then. Okay. Thank you very much for your patience. Mr. Cohen, I appreciate your arguments, but we're going to continue this matter.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
should it be noted that based on the history here, that this matter, if and when it's relisted, that the administrator relisted as soon as possible, and it be marked must be heard?
Absolutely. Mr. Wade, please mark that must be heard, and let's ASAP in terms of the relisting.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Mr. Maynard, we're going to continue this.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. And again, I apologize. I don't know why I didn't have internet access today, and I apologize also because I'm not very computer literate, so I didn't know how to fix it. But I will make sure that I'm ready next time.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on.
May I be excused?
Yes, sir. And your
Thank you.
witness as well. And Mr. Cohen, if you have any witnesses, they may be excused as well. Okay, where are we now?
I believe that brings us down to case 35. Hearing appeal number HA 2022-002-573. Mario Ruzzi, 7814 Arderley Street.
Good afternoon, Andy Feldson for Mario Ruzzi.
Okay, and who's representing the city?
Hi, this is Leonard Reuter. Sorry.
Oh, Mr. Ryder, how are you? Okay.
I'm fine.
Let us proceed then. Mr. And again, I need to have you restate your name. You're representing the Mr. Felton. Do you have any witnesses with you today?
I have Mr. Ruzzi as well as his realtors, Joanna Evangelou and Dan Howig.
Okay, and Mr. Reuter, which witnesses are you using today?
We don't have a witness. I think we're basically in agreement as to the facts. So there were two violations that were issued as a result of the inspection of the property. One for not having a use registration permit. It's currently being used as a triplex or three-family dwelling. And then also for not having a certificate of occupancy. I've reviewed the documentation, and I do agree that this does appear to be a valid lawful non-conforming use that far predates. I mean, it goes back a while. One of the problems is that we have a number of properties in the city of Philadelphia for which we do not have a zoning archive. There's various reasons for that, but it'll just say that this is one of the properties in the city that does not have an existing zoning archive, but they did produce documentation that indicated it has been a three-family dwelling for several decades, and that previously they do appear to have had valid permits for that. But for whatever reason, the city's records on that were lost. So we would agree, we've indicated to the appellant is what they're supposed to do to document a lawful non-conforming use is you go to Eclipse, you submit an application for a use permit, and you specify in the Eclipse record, the application form or whatever you call it on the internet, you indicate in the scope of work section to document a lawful non-conforming use, and then you just upload the other documents that you have, your supporting documentation for that. And so, and when they do that, I will advise the department that based on my review, it does appear that this is a valid non-conforming use. And I've checked the Eclipse record, at least what we have. I don't see that there's been any intervening construction work or building permits or other use applications. The other problem, though, is the certificate of occupancy. So prior to the late 1960s, certificate of occupancies didn't really exist, except in very limited circumstances. So up until around 2013, many residential properties did not require certificates of occupancy. 1 and 2 family dwellings didn't require them. 3 family dwellings probably didn't require them. But what you could do if you needed a cert for the sale of the property is you could ask the department for a what was called a request for a document that would specifically say certificate of occupancy not required. However, the International Building Code changed in, I believe, around 2013. Actually, I think it might have been more under state law, under the Uniform Construction Code that was adopted, which then through that adopted the IBC. Certificates of occupancy are now required for all buildings except 1 and 2 family dwellings. So 3 family dwelling would require a certificate of occupancy, and that is there's a little bit of confusion about that, I think, but that is actually retroactive. So that's required for all occupancies in the city. But what with the city, we don't normally go around telling everybody, hey, you need a CO. We will require you to get the CO if you're trying to get a building permit or do anything like that. Here, there had been inspections for some other complaints about the property, which I believe were complied, having to do with cracks in the wall and things like that. And I think it was a result of that inspection. The inspector determined that they could not find a zoning permit or a CO. So unfortunately, we now know it's now on the radar that they don't have a CO. However, there's a process for obtaining a CO for a building that's what we would call pre-code. And that process is basically they apply for a CO, and if you're saying that there's no new construction associated, there's no alteration or change of occupancy associated with the application, then it would be submitted as what's called a change of occupancy without a change in occupancy classification. And that application would then be reviewed under the International Existing Building Code. And the reason why is that we have to confirm that the property is, again, in compliance with fire and property maintenance codes. And I understand that the property owner is trying to sell the property, and I believe that a property cert was applied for recently, and the plans examiner issued a statement basically saying that they could not certify the property because, again, we do not have an existing zoning permit or CO. So we can't just give those to the appellant. If that's required, because there's a violation outstanding and now the zoning permit and CO are required, they would have to apply for those and obtain them. Even though, again, we recognize, or I recognize and agree that the use and occupancy are lawful in the sense that they have not changed in decades, but unfortunately, I think they have to go through the process. I don't think, there's really anything that we can do other than to give them time to go through the process. We would not move forward to enforce the violations or cease or anything along those lines. But in terms of them, being able to get a clean cert for selling the property, again, the process for getting the zoning permit shouldn't be that long. As soon as they submit the zoning permit application, I can advise LNI that I believe that it's a lawful non-conforming use, but the CO still would have to be applied for, and that would have to be examined by LNI just to make a determination that there isn't, again, that it complies with the existing building code. So again, in most cases for something like a 3-family structure, that's not going to require sprinklerization. It's not going to require, the same sorts of things that you would if you were building a new building, because it's an existing building and it existed pre-code in the same occupancy class. They're just making sure really that there haven't been any interior issues or other problems. I don't want to go through a list of what's going to be required, but I would say that the requirements are much lower than they would be for new construction or where there's been a change of occupancy. So, and I provided a code bulletin that the city of Philadelphia has on obtaining his certificates of occupancy to Mr. Felton. And unfortunately, there's just nothing else that we're able to agree to. Because we can't just, again, the fact is there is no zoning permit and there is no CO. So that's the appeal, is the appeal from the violation for not having those things. So, again,
Okay.
unless they produce those things, it's the city's position that we can't just
Okay.
issue permits that haven't been applied for.
Okay, Mr. Felton, based on the statements that Mr. Rotter has put on the record, is this something that you and your client are prepared to do and sort of work through the process to get this resolved?
Well, we just found out that that was an option earlier today. If that's the only way that the city will close this out, we don't really have much choice, but I'll note that Mr. Ruzzi has not done anything wrong in this circumstance. Nothing.
I think the record is fairly clear that it is a matter of the property owner doing something that he should not have done. It's a matter of the records changing over time. And so I think the matter now that he's attempting to sell the property, this has to be cleared up, because even if we were to rule in your favor today, the new property owner would have a similar problem. And quite frankly, would find themselves back where you are today.
Right. And I apologize. Yeah. And again, that's the ultimate problem here, is that the only way to resolve the issue is to apply for and obtain the permits. Because again, unless you were going to, sell it quick claim, without a warranty, the property can't get a cert. Without, because it's 3-family. If it 1 or 2 family, then it'd be okay. But for 3-family, you're not going to be able to get a cert unless you get the CO, and you can't get the CO unless you have the zoning permit first. So, again, I think they can probably get the zoning permit in 2 weeks. It's probably not going to require any plan review, because it's to document an existing nonconformity. The CO might take longer. And it probably will require an inspection of the property.
Okay.
But
and I guess what I'm
no less than 30 days.
Okay, I'm hoping that there's a way for us to handle this today so it doesn't have to come back to us.
How
would we best do that?
I would be fine with just continuing the matter or actually probably no, you want it off your books. I would say, city affirmed with stay of enforcement for 90 days, something like that. Because again, I think it'll take a little bit of time to get the CO, just because they're going to need to get an architect or somebody to document what facilities are in the building, like what kind of electrical systems in there, the layout of the floor plan and that kind of thing.
May I
Okay.
ask if it's a legitimate non-conforming use, and there's no dispute that, this has always been a three-family dwelling. I don't think it would be appropriate for the city to affirm that, there's a violation for at least that specific regard. I think it.
Okay,
should
let's
just
do
be
this.
withdrawn.
Yeah, I mean, but again,
Mr. Rodder, let's do this so that we don't get into protracted legal argument here. I think the easiest way for us to resolve this today would be then to continue it.
that'd be
And-
fine too.
Yeah, we'll continue the matter, and the two of you, Mr. Felton and Mr. Rodder, should resolve this on behalf of the appellant, Mr. Ruzzi, and if
Okay.
there are also other interested parties. So we're going to continue this, and Mr. Wade, we will give it a long relist date.
And Mr. Rodder, I would like to thank you again for going over, the proper procedure with us. I hope you'll continue to work with us on getting this resolved.
Sure, I will.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and
Thank you.
the appellant, thank you for your cooperation and your patience. Have a
Thank
good
you.
afternoon.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next matter.
Cases number 36 and cases number 36 and 37 are two different appellants, the same address. I'm believe the same issue. You want me to read them both into the record?
Yes, read them both away, depending on how they respond and the city responds, they'll have to have two separate hearings. So
Okay.
read them both so that the appellants can be called to the fore.
Case number 36, hearing appeal number HA 2022-003707, Tina Weddle, 8200 Ridge Avenue. Case number 37, hearing appeal number HA 2022-003708, Andrea Formosa, 8200 Ridge Avenue.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Caroline Curley.
Ms.
Good
Curley,
afternoon,
you
Board.
representing both matters or just one of them?
Yes,
Both?
correct.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a Tina Weddle and a Andrea Formosa? Okay.
I'm here.
Your name, ma'am?
Andrea Formosa.
Andrea Formosa, okay, thank you. And Tina Weddle? There's no.
Chair, I
Tina.
do see an iPhone with a hand raised. I believe that might be her.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's not very phone savvy. Sorry.
Okay, unmute the iPhone, please.
I'm trying.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry.
Hello,
Yes, and your name, please?
Tina Waddell, TinaWedul.
Okay, can you activate your video so we can see your image?
Okay, I gotta get my daughter to do that because I'm not real good at this. Hold on.
Okay, while you're working on that, we will talk to Ms. Formosa, and we will proceed with her matter first.
Board, just to be clear, I think they're in the same, they're neighbors.
I'm here.
And mother and
Here I
daughter, I
am.
believe they're together.
Oh,
So,
okay. Are you two in the same space?
No.
No, two different units.
Okay, all right. What I'd ask both of you to do, though, would be to be stationary, because we can't conduct a hearing with you walking around and moving around.
Okay, I'm going back to sit on my couch. Sorry. All right.
Okay. So let's do this while we have you with us. If you could get rid of the raised hand, in case you may need to use it again. Thank you. Miss Tina Weddle and Miss Andrea Formosa, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth to help you God?
Yes,
I
sir.
do.
Thank you very much. You can place your hand down. The way we will proceed today is that we will have the city's lawyer, Ms. Curley, to present the facts that the city has. And after she's done that with whatever witnesses she wants to call, you will then have an opportunity to do the same thing. And at the end, the board will vote to determine the outcome. I would ask though, before we proceed, because there are two of you at the same address, are you both residents or do you have leasehold interest in this property? What's the situation?
We are.
Board,
Mom, let's
if
go
if
one
I
at a
may,
time.
I can explain the situation that we are
Okay,
in.
all right, why don't you do that for us then? Okay.
Thank you. So this concerns a property at 8200 Ridge. Ms. Formosa and Ms. Waddell are the two occupants of two separate units that are on the second floor. The bottom is a commercial space. This is in a large parcel on Ridge Avenue that's being used for a variety of commercial purposes. The issue that the department now has is back in August of 2022, the department went out to this property, issued a notice of intent to cease, which the two occupants have now, which is the appeal before the board now. The two occupants did appeal. The occupants, by all testimony that our inspector would provide, and per the information they've provided me, the occupants have been fully cooperative with the department's investigations. The cease was issued because the property was not zoned and did not have a certificate of occupancy for the use for the two apartment use.
Okay.
That was back in August of 2022. Since that time, and that's when the cease was issued, to be clear, there have been multiple violation notices that have been issued for a variety of reasons on the owner. As you see, the owner is not here today. So fast forward to today, as of now, last Wednesday, there was a hearing before the Zoning Board of Adjustment. After much prodding, the owner finally did apply for a zoning permit. That permit was denied. Their hearing was last Wednesday. The variance they requested was approved. Obviously, since that was last Wednesday, there hasn't been, a formal written notice hasn't been provided. They haven't moved forward on obtaining the CO. And, candidly, we have concerns, which I will call the inspector to explain to the board about the fire systems that are present on the property. But all that being said, at approximately, early this afternoon, I was finally able to get in touch with the owner's attorney, who indicated that he would allow for an updated inspection to see the fire suppression system, the fire alarm certification and system in the building. And he would allow that to happen within 10 days. Obviously, he's not before this court, or this board rather. So we don't have any real authority to mandate this at this time. Which is why we want to proceed on this today, just so the department can explain the concerns it has about the fire system present in the building now.
Okay, just a couple of things, Ms. Curley, before we proceed. The ZBA variance was approved?
The variance was approved, yes.
And that would incorporate the second floor residential use as well as the first floor commercial?
That is my understanding, yes.
Do you have a copy of the written ZBA?
So it hasn't even been issued yet. In correspondence with, it takes about 2 weeks for the written notice to be produced.
Okay.
If it helps, I was also.
Oh, wait, not yet.
Sorry.
Not yet. Okay, all right, thank you. So let's do this then. Let's get your inspector sworn, and then let's put all of this on the record and decide what we do next, okay? Thank you.
Well, may I ask a question first of Ms. Curley? Because
yes,
if in fact there were two issues, one obviously is zoning, which would appear to be resolved. The second is certificate of occupancy and the question of whether these units are in fact safe for the type of occupancy that's now happening in the property. But there are two individuals living in there. And so from a timing perspective, it would either be city affirmed and some time period given to get it a C of O, or the appeals. I mean, the object is you don't want to put people out on, at least I don't want to put people out on the street. So do we need to have a hearing, or do we, in order to affirm the city, or do we continue it to give the owner time to get a certificate of occupancy? What is it
Chairman Pincus, you have identified both options that I think after you hear the testimony, either are available to you. But I want to make sure that
Please don't call me chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry, board member. Sorry, I'm sorry, Chairman Woodson. I'm sorry, Board Member Pincus. You know. But I just, the department feels in the abundance of caution. We do want to just put this testimony forward, and whatever resolution the board agrees on, you know, we obviously will adhere to.
Okay. All right, thank you. Of course, we're always looking for ways to shorten the amount of time we have to sit in here.
I'm gonna
testimony
expedite it, I promise.
Okay. All right, so let's hear, who is your inspector, please? Please call him.
Inspector Murphy, if you could unmute yourself. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, if you would raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you. Ms. Curley?
And Inspector Murphy, you're an employee of the Department of License and Inspections.
That is correct.
And how long approximately have you been an employee there?
2.5 years.
And you've been able to investigate the property at 8200 Ridge Avenue, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you heard me provide a brief introduction to the board. Is that roughly a summary of your experience at 8200 Ridge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when was the last time you were able to go out and inspect that property?
The end of, I want to say the beginning of September.
Okay.
And
when you did,
September.
when you did that, did you attempt, you were able, is it correct that you were able to get into the second floor where the tenants live?
Yes, I made an appointment to do a reinspection or info stop on the residential part of the property at 8200 Ridge Avenue. I met with
And you were
both
able to
entities.
get into those apartments, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you able to get into the commercial portion below them?
No.
And was the owner present there when you tried to get in?
I don't think the guy that was present was the owner. I think that was the guy that's leasing the property.
Okay, so maybe property manager.
Yes.
Okay, were you able to get into that space?
No.
Okay, and did you try to?
Yes.
Okay, and he did not allow you to enter?
He did not allow me to enter.
Okay, as far as the tenant space, as it stands right now with what you know right now, what are your concerns about the space in terms of fire safety?
I need to see the fire. I understand that they got a ZBA and it was granted. I need to see the fire alarm panel. I reviewed the fire alarm certification that has been uploaded to the Eclipse portal, but to satisfy the department, we would like to see the fire alarm panel to see if it's a normal operational status.
Okay, and are there also about the structure of the apartment? Without seeing the CO, do you have concerns about the structure of the apartment?
Yes.
And can you explain those to the board?
Well, with it's in regards to fire safety, the two apartments, I really wouldn't consider them apartments. To me, the one side is just an apartment with 2 rooms. Because so they have fire components in there, outdated fire extinguisher, enunciator is on the wall, exercise is illuminated, leading to the exit to the outside. I'm satisfied with that part. But my issue is whether, because I understand the business that goes on downstairs is a heating and ventilation repair shop. I need to know if because of the square footage of the property, do it need to be sprinkled? That type of inspection will trigger a building inspection, a building inspector to come out to do that part of it.
Okay. And ideally, if the owner does everything he's supposed to do, that will start when he starts applying for the CO and goes through that process. Well, finishes applying for the zoning permit and CO.
Yes. So once
Okay.
he submit an application for a certificate of occupancy, that would trigger an inspection. A building inspector would then make an appointment with said owner to come in there and do a full inspection. And the building inspector would tell the owner what type of fire protection he needs based off of the occupancy that he applied for.
And again, based on your inspections, the most pressing thing is seeing the fire panel, which is located in the commercial space.
Yes, I did not find the fire alarm panel nowhere on the side where the residents are staying at.
Okay, and at least in the emails you received this late or early this afternoon, did it seem at least via their attorney that the owner would agree to let you in to do that?
Yes.
Okay, All right, any other safety concerns you want the board to be aware of today?
Nah, just that I know I would look at back into the zoning as far as the square footage of the property. We just need to see the fire alarm panel. So we would like to do a full fire inspection on the property, not just the residential part. I will do that again, as well as the commercial part of the business.
Okay, all right, I don't have anything further for Inspector Murphy.
Ms. Curley, do you have any photographs of the building or the interior exterior space?
Sure,
That would help us understand what we're dealing with.
not a problem. Oops. So I'll just recall Inspector Murphy very quickly. Inspector Murphy, this is City Exhibit 3. Is this the property we're discussing?
Ms. Curley, we aren't seeing any image.
Oh. Do you see anything?
We see a listing of your files.
Oh, that's not right.
Yeah, there we go.
Inspector Murphy, is this the property we're talking about, City Exhibit 3?
Yes, ma'am. That door leads to the residential part of the property.
So that's the entrance to where the appellants live.
That is correct.
Okay. And this is the door into their property?
Yes.
Okay. And City Exhibit 5, that's the front of the property, correct?
Actually, that's the side view of the property.
Oh, side, I'm sorry, side. And they live on the second floor, correct?
That's the rear of the property off to the, where their door at. If you keep walking up and turn to your left, that's the rear side of their property where they stay at.
Okay. And just for sake of completion, this is the notice of intent to cease you left on August 15th, 2022.
Yes.
And this is the underlying notice of violation issued to the owner on November 19th, 2021, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Board, I don't have anything else.
Those are the only two photographs you have?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll ask this. then.
Chairman Woodson,
Yes, sir.
I have pictures of the front of the property.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, one of the
Yes.
key things that you have to understand, the witness only gets to talk when the lawyer says they can talk.
I apologize.
And then, okay, make sure that she's okay with you putting pictures in the record. Ms. Curley?
I have no objection, but just to be clear, Inspector Murphy, there's no photos at this time of the interior, correct?
I have photos of the interior as well. Of the part where the residents are staying at.
I mean,
Do
I
you
don't have
want-
any objection if it's up to if the board wants to. see it,
Of course,
but-
the board wants to see as much as possible. That helps us, but I just want to make sure you understand whatever impact it's going to have on your case. That's all.
Nope, it's fine.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, can you share your screen?
Sure, let me figure out how to do it.
Or if you send them to Ms. Curley, she could probably do them quickly. I don't know if that's a possibility, but
Yeah, I can send it to her, see if she can get it faster.
while you're doing that, I will ask Ms. Widow, based on Mr. Murphy's testimony, do you have any specific questions of him based on his testimony?
No.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Formosa, do you have any specific questions of Mr. Murphy based on his testimony?
I just have one question for Mr. Murphy, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Are the alarm, the fire alarms that were in every room of the apartments, are they up to date? And the only thing that you want to see get changed, the only thing that you need to see is the fire alarm box that is connected to the hallway that we flip to let the police and the fire companies know that the building is in need for the department to come out.
No, I would like to see the fire alarm panel.
Downstairs, correct?
I'm not sure where's the fire alarm panel is located at. In that
Okay.
parcel.
if I may bring information in, just for a second, I was actually at the zoning board meeting and they pulled up pictures of all of the electrical and fire alarms. I do believe it is downstairs at the door in between the oil, where they keep the oil. So that door right next to my red door is where all of my electrical and our fire extinguisher, like our fire pooling, what you're looking for is underneath of us. So I don't even believe you need downstairs to give you that information because I can open that door. I didn't know you needed to see that, but I believe that panel that is in my hallway is downstairs because the images that I saw that his lawyer provided showed a picture of that panel and it is right underneath because I tripped that alarm before and got a fine.
Okay.
And they had, I had to let them in.
Yeah, Ms. Formosa, you may be completely accurate in terms of the location of the panel that he needs to inspect, but he also needs to inspect the commercial space just to determine how the space is being used. It's important that he determines if there's flammable materials, whether or not there's high pressure gases, whether there's anything else in that building that requires special treatment by fire suppression system. So
Okay,
he will need to come back in.
Okay.
Okay. If there are no additional questions, Ms. Curley, did you receive those images?
Did not.
It's not allowing me to send it.
Ms. Riedel, you said you had a question, or is that your?
That was my daughter. That was Miss Andre from I didn't.
She didn't have any questions. Okay. Ms. Curley, do you have any additional witnesses?
I don't.
Okay, so let's do this. Mr. Murphy, we're going to move on to the appellant's presentation. And in the meantime, if you can, figure out how to submit those photographs, Ms. Curley. If you can't, figure out how to share the screen. That would be useful for us to see those additional images. Now, let's go back to Ms. Whittle. Your case is the first one listed at 202-2003-707. What would you like to share with us in terms of the status of your living unit?
Oh, my living unit's fine. I have no problem with that. We just didn't receive, we only got the final notice. We didn't even know this was going on. And
Okay.
I was down and seen the final notice on August, whatever date, that was 15th.
Okay.
But my unit, I have no issues in my unit.
Okay. Ms. Curley, do you have any questions of Ms. Whittle?
I do not.
Okay. Let's then move on then to number 37, which is HA 2022-003-708, Andrea Formosa. Ms. Formosa, do you have any information to share with us regarding the intent to cease and the status of your living unit?
I don't, sir. I think my living unit's fine. The heat works, the hot water works. I have all of the alarms for if there's a fire. I know that there's additional information you need from downstairs just because we live above a commercial unit. But as far as my apartments go, I think that I'm okay at this time.
Okay, how many bedrooms are in your unit?
I have 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom.
And do you have a separate kitchen?
Of course I do, and a living space and a dining room area.
Okay, is that separate from the living room, dining room, and kitchen that Ms. Whittle has?
It's a different setup, but yes, it's completely
Okay, well,
different.
let's do this. I'll go back to her then. But in terms of your space, you have a 2-bedroom unit. How many people reside in your unit with you?
It's me and my 2 small children. They are 9 and 7.
Okay, all righty. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Whittle, how many do you have a separate kitchen that you have exclusive use to?
Yes, I do.
You have your own bathroom
Yes, my own bathroom and 2 bedrooms.
and 2 bedrooms.
And my
Okay.
own space to come in. It's,
Okay.
I live in the apartment next door.
Okay. So how many people reside in your unit?
I do.
Just you. Okay.
Yes.
So total, there are 4 people living on the 2nd floor.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? No? Okay. Any success in getting those images?
I didn't receive them, no. Oh, wait. Oop. Yeah, so I have a front photo I can share, which might be helpful. And I would just, I don't think the inspector testified that there are any interior issues that the board needs to, that would sway the board's opinion either way. But here's a front photo of this.
Okay, that's the front.
And Inspector
commercial
Murphy,
entrance.
this is the front of the building.
How does it end up being 2 stories? I mean, I know generally the location on Ridge Avenue. Does that mean that the apartments are at this level? Because it's described as they're on the 2nd floor.
Yeah, Inspector Murphy, can you clarify, is this the separate building?
No, they all, it's kind of weird. It's like in the L shape. This is
So
one
where
level
is the 2nd floor apartment, on the right side or the left side?
on the right side of the picture towards the rear.
Just kind of hidden in this photo, correct? It's like in the back where
It's in
this
the-
summer
it's in the back
quality
of that.
service is, it's behind that. Is that
That is
correct?
correct. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, and Miss Formosa, you have a formal lease for that space?
Yes, sir, and yes,
Is it a 1-year lease or a month to month?
it's a 1 year, but I've been here for a few years now.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Is that the only additional image, Miss Curley?
I think truly I think it's the only useful one.
Okay. If there aren't any other questions, then the issue is this intent to cease at this point. What is the city's position regarding the intent to cease?
So much like some of the cases the board has already heard today, the real issue is that we have a owner who has put out a space for 2 individuals to live in without proper zoning and without obtaining the CO. And as we've now heard a couple times today, the process of getting the zoning takes a long time, and they've started that process. And I agree that the testimony from Ms. Formosa that they did obtain the variance on Wednesday. Now they have to go through the process of getting the CO, which, as we know, means that that the structure of the building might not be approved for the use that it's used in. There might be sprinkler systems that are ordered to be put in. There might be all kinds of changes that the owner is ordered, that the owner needs to do in order to obtain that. We just don't know. It could also be that nothing needs to change. The department does not know. So we're in this unfortunate situation where we have a lack of information, not on the fault of the tenants, not on the fault of truly the department, but because that process needs to play out. So there are unknown fire, concerns based on what the process with the CO is. There has been an inability of the department to see the entire structure to ensure that fire panel is up to date. I hesitate to continue this case. So because I'm fearful that we'll just be coming back all the time. And the reality is, if the CO isn't obtained and that isn't followed through, or the owner doesn't do the things they need to do to get that CO, then the department's, it should be enforcing that cease because of the fire concerns.
Okay.
So that's the department's position and our concerns for the board.
Okay, so essentially where we are now, because there has not been an inspection of the first floor interior to determine what level of fire suppression / protection is required, the cease should remain as an open issue until that's resolved. Is that the city's position?
I think that's true. And I would add, obviously the cease, the department, even if the board affirms the cease, that does not mean the department has to effectuate the cease.
Correct.
It just gives us the option.
Okay. All righty. And before we vote, I just want to explain something to Ms. Formosa and Ms. Widow. The key thing here that this board feels very strongly about is that we do not allow residents, through no fault of their own, to live in a dangerous property. And even though the landlord may be, in your view, a good landlord, that isn't our judgment to make. If you are living in a space that is sitting on top of a potential super sensitive fire circumstance, and the code requires that he spend lots of money to bring up the code, which we don't know yet. That's important to know, and that's going to have an impact. So it isn't that we are not empathetic to your living circumstance. We just don't want you to be in a space that isn't safe. So that's the key thing for us, is to make sure that you're in a safe space, that you and your children are not impacted in a negative way. So with that said, we will then poll the board, and we will vote on each of these matters separately so that we can keep the record clear in case they get separated for some reason.
Chairman, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
before you poll the board, may I ask Ms. Curley one question?
Yes.
So Ms. Formosa has testified that she has 2 small children. Is the city going to make any effort to help them find substitute housing? If the city is asking us to approve the cease, and you have a mother with 2 small children and another occupant, what is the city going to do? Are you going to seek emergency assistance for them? What's the plan for that?
So, Board Member Penn, the Office of Housing Services is obviously always available. This isn't housing court, unfortunately, which, you know, those options do exist for the appellants to pursue, and arguably perhaps are good options. But obviously those services with the city do exist. The hope, you know, honestly, is that that doesn't have to happen, but those services do of course exist.
And if you get the decision that you want, but you stated that the city might extend the time, I think you said this, correct me if I'm wrong, that you still have the option to extend the intent to cease. What is the distinction in doing that versus continuing the matter with a stay of enforcement for a longer period of time, say for a 4-month period of time like we've done in other cases?
If the board hearing that testimony and feels comfortable with that outcome, the city will respect that outcome. And if something, you know, obviously if there is some sort of emergency situation that changes the city's perspective, then the appropriate filings will be made.
Thank you very much.
Just so that I believe I understood what was your response to Board Member Penn. If we were to give an extended stay and the inspection occurs this week, and you determine that in fact it is a super hazardous situation, you have legal recourse, CCP or some other means to overcome this stay of enforcement.
I believe that is correct.
Okay.
I'd like to ask Ms. Penn what her thinking is as to an appropriate action.
Well, I certainly think the commercial space needs to be inspected as soon as possible to make sure that the fire alarm issue is resolved as quickly as possible. But I think at this point that it should be city affirmed, but with a stay of enforcement. I'm very concerned about the fact that there are children in one of the units and a woman who has, you know, pets in another unit, and it's very difficult to find housing that quickly. So if we give I believe the city should at least give the occupants some reasonable period of time to seek alternative housing, which they might prefer if the landlord doesn't obtain the CO. But
Okay.
that would only be with a stay of enforcement. I
Okay.
just can't see the city logically putting somebody in the street who's been residing somewhere for 2 years and, you know, has been paying rent and the units have been inspected. There's no issue with the units themselves. So if that is not the problem, then the city has to be aggressive about getting an inspection of the interior of the commercial space and give the residents some opportunity to look for additional housing.
Okay, and I guess one question I would have from either Ms. Weddle or Ms. Formosa is that do you know if the commercial space, if are they actively repairing HVAC systems? Are they welding? Are they
So
using anything like that?
I can So first I want to state that we do live on the second floor, but our unit is not above their unit. So that's what I want to say as well. When you saw that back image that Mr. Murphy expressed, that our front door, and if you keep walking straight to the back where the windows were, that's our unit. The commercial building starts before that, which is why when Mr. Murphy took a picture of the front of the unit, you could not see our unit because we are on the side, above, in the back. So we don't, and then number two, no, they are not doing any type of welding or HVACing. They just strictly keep all of their stuff there to run their plumbing and HVAC unit. These guys have multiple trucks and they're in and out of here every day. I do believe they do other commercial residential usage. So they're not fixing anything here. This is just office space downstairs. There's 6 offices and that's where they use to do all of their business.
Okay, so essentially it's an office space and storage space for equipment.
Correct.
Okay.
What's a shame is that the owner hasn't acted in a very responsible way and allowed you to live there without doing what he needed to do to get the proper zoning and the certificates. And he's not here today to accept responsibility for what he's done.
I know. And I just found this out as well. So this is all news to me, as much as it is to you. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. We will now poll the board for each matter separately, put that on the record. We will begin with HA-2022-003707, Tina Whittle, 8200 Ridge Avenue, city affirmed with a 4-month stay of enforcement.
City affirmed a 4-month stay of enforcement.
City affirmed.
Instead of 4 months, should we say 120 days, which is, we usually do it in days?
Perfect. I just didn't bother to do the count. So is that 120 days?
I think so.
Yes, sir.
120 days stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 120 days stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 120 days stay of enforcement.
Thank you very much, and correct the record that the chairman also votes for 120-day stay of enforcement. Thank you so much. Let's
I
move
do
on
have
to.
a question. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hold you up. So after the 120.
Oh, we haven't, let us finish voting.
Oh,
and then we
okay,
can-
I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, appeal number HA-2022-003708, Andrea Formosa, 8200 Ridge Avenue, city affirmed 120-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 120-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 120 days stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 120 days stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 120 days stay of enforcement.
Okay, thank you. Now, Ms. Formosa, you had a question for us before we move on.
I did, sir. So just say he gets the
No, you have to
occupancy.
stop moving though. You have to stop
Oh,
moving.
I'm sorry. Just say he gets all the occupancy information that he needs for you guys and the zoning is okay. That 120 days is then lifted.
Yeah, what happens if he does everything he should?
Okay.
And the inspector can confirm that, and then the intent to cease goes away.
Okay.
Okay, but
Thank
those
you.
are some big ifs,
Yeah,
and so
I know. You see what I'm dealing with, but I really
Understand.
appreciate you guys. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone. For
Okay.
your, okay, have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, goodbye. Have a good day. Let us move on.
Okay. We have what I have is the last 2 cases for 6707 Ogons. We also
Yes.
still have the chef in the box case. We
Yes.
do have an inspector here. I didn't know if you want to call that so he could be,
Well, let's do Ogons Avenue, then we'll go back to that one.
okay.
Chairman Woodson, may I be excused, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Have a good afternoon.
Mr. Chair, if I may, a gentleman, Mr. Moore, has been on here for quite a while. Have we called his case?
We
Or-
don't know yet, so let's do this. The next case may impact him, but we don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't
Thank
see his name. Okay, let's call those last 2 cases.
Okay, I
and see what we have.
believe this is the same situation with 2 tenants for 6707 Ogons. The first of which is case number 38, hearing appeal number HA 2022 003-846. Joy King, 6707 Ogons. Case number 39, hearing appeal number HA 2022-003-968, Rakeem Austin, 6707 Ogons Ave.
Okay, who's representing the city in this matter?
Good afternoon, Board. Nakia Clark on behalf of the City of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, Ms. Clark. Is Joy King or Rakeem Austin present?
I believe I see Rakim Austin. He's muted though.
Let's unmute Mr. Rakeem. Okay, everyone should be on the same page now. I only have one page of images. Rakim. Mr. Wade, can you unmute that person?
I have asked them.
Okay, and Joy King. Okay, Joy King.
Yes, this is Rakim.
Rakim, this is Kenneth Woodson, board chair. Can you give us your image, please?
Yes, we had inspectors. Was it a cease operation?
No, you didn't answer my question. I need to see your face so we can proceed with this case.
Okay, got you.
Okay, thank you. Sir, before we can proceed, though, this is a formal court hearing. You need to put some clothes on.
All right.
Yeah, so yes, thank you. Ms. Clark, I beg your indulgence. We have some other individuals who are on the screen. We need to see which case they're associated with. As soon as this appellant is prepared, we will come back to you, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Moore, I guess we need to know, would you unmute Mr. Moore? What case, which address are you here for?
My address I'm here for is 3026 Redner Street.
Just one moment.
Yes, sir.
Redner Street?
Yes, Redner Street.
I don't see that. Does anyone see that one?
No. If you guys can see, I'm supposed to be here today. Supposed to be here November 1st, Tuesday at 1:15. I've been here since 1:15. I live in New York City, man. I'm missing my whole day for this, guys.
Understand, but we're just checking the record. That's why we haven't called you. This is a zone, this is a building code. What's the problem? What's the problem
This
noted on your
was,
case?
I had got some violations last year that were all repaired.
Okay, now
and
you own the property?
It was actually, I'm actually the administrator of the estate. It was my dad's home.
Okay,
yes,
so couple things.
Yes, sir.
You need a lawyer because you're not on the deed. And that was on the violation notices that you got.
I am on the deed, sir.
And who else is on the deed?
Just myself, sir.
Okay, so you're the only person on the deed.
Yes, sir.
And it's a currently vacant house?
I have a vacant occupancy license because I was told I needed that.
Okay, so let's do this.
Yes,
We're
sir.
going to, as soon as we get this other matter on the way, I'm going to ask Mr. Wade, the department administrator, to call you.
Okay, no
And-
problem.
Because there's a big, yes.
3026 Redner Street. The zip is 19121.
Is that Rector?
Redner, Redner Street.
Yeah, because we aren't showing it on our list, so there's a mix-up somewhere. So we need to have a conversation with you about what that is. Okay. Do we have anyone else here whose matter has not been resolved? I think Mr. Moore's matter is the only one. So Mr. Moore, what will happen is that we're going to mute you, and Mr. Wade will call you, and the two of you can have a conversation without it being broadcast over the rest of the hearing. Okay?
But stay on. Stay on.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. Stay where you are.
Yes, sir.
And then he will call you. Okay.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so he'll mute you. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go back to then the case we just completed. I think Mr. Rakeem may be ready for us. Ms. Clark
Yes.
and Joy King, Joy King did not answer when called. So let's dispose of that one first. Ms. Clark, do you have, Mr. Wade, was there service to Ms. King?
Yes, Ms. King service was provided.
Okay. Ms. Clark, what is your preference in this matter?
The city would request a city affirm for failure to appear.
Okay. What time do we have, Mr. Pincus?
4:36 PM.
4:36 PM. Thank you very much. We will poll the board regarding HA-2022-003846 Joy King, 6707 Ogans Avenue, city affirm non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's move on to HA-2022-003968 Rakim Austin at 6707 Ogans Avenue. Mr. Rakim Austin, are you present with us? And please unmute him, please.
Yes.
Okay, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. What happened, Ms. Nakia Clark, the lawyer for the city, will present the facts of the matter. You will then have an opportunity to present your facts and understanding before we call for a vote. Understand?
Okay.
Okay, and before we proceed, so are you a resident or a tenant in this building?
A tenant.
The tenant, do you have a lease for the space you're in?
Yes.
And your name is on the lease?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, Ms. Clark?
So this case is in reference to a property at 6707 Ogans Avenue. It was an intent to cease for various fire code violations. There was a lack of hot water at the property. And the city has one witness that we're going to call, and that is Inspector Anthony Williams.
Okay. Mr. Williams, raise your right hand, please, so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You can place your hand down. Ms. Clark?
Good afternoon, Inspector Williams. Can you please state your name and occupation for the board?
Inspector Anthony Williams, Code Enforcement Inspector, and I've been at this position for 3 years now.
Can you please briefly state your role in your duties?
Well, I inspect, answer various complaints for both property maintenance and fire code violations. And, you know, that's pretty much the basic of the job. We look for things that we can find in different elements to handle these complaints and re-inspections.
Are you familiar with the property at 6707 Ogans Avenue?
Yes, I am.
And how are you familiar with that property?
On August 23rd, I was there for an inspection. I met with the third floor tenant, Mr. Cephas, what's his name? Damon Cephas, what's his name? And we did a walkthrough of the building.
Have you had an opportunity to review the LNI and public records for this property?
Yes.
With the board's permission, I'm going to share my screen briefly.
Okay, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
At this time, I am showing the board and Inspector Williams what has been previously marked as City's Exhibit 1. Inspector Williams, what are we looking at here?
The notice of violation.
And is this notice kept in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
And it looks like it was dated August 24th, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
For the property at 6707 Ogans Avenue, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm going to scroll through this notice of violation. If you could just explain to the board what is the basis of the cease for the property.
Okay, so the reason why we issued the intent to cease was because the fire alarm at that time was inoperable. Previously, I had been there and the fire alarm was in trouble, but at that time, that inspection that day, there was no power to the fire alarm at all. So we wrote it up as inoperable, which, you know, that made us do the intent to cease.
Is that the only violation in this notice of violation that is the basis for the intent to cease?
Yes, I believe so, because all the rest of the stuff, although they were fire code violations, there were a couple other fire code violations. The fire alarm was the one that we wrote the intent to cease for.
All right. At this time, I'm showing the board what has been previously marked as City's Exhibit 2. Inspector Williams, do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes,
And what are we looking at here?
that is the notice of intent to cease. And that basically goes to the owner and it tells them that, you know, the corrections needed to avoid the cease.
And was this intent to cease also given to the occupants as well?
Yes, that was a copy that was delivered to the occupants.
So I'm going to scroll down to the photos from the inspection. At this time, I am showing the board what has been previously marked as City's Exhibit 3. Inspector Williams, what are we looking at in this photograph?
That is the fire alarm that was on the first floor, and there's no power to it at all.
And what date was this photograph taken?
August 23rd.
Scrolling to the next photo in that exhibit packet. What are we looking at here?
This is the third floor rear, I believe was the rear. Mr. Cephas, who was the complainant, this was his room where basically showing that there was no water to that sink. I didn't go into any of the other apartments, but that was his apartment.
Scrolling to the next photo in that photo set, what are we looking at here?
Okay, that's the block egress to the fire exit.
The next photo, what are we looking at here, Inspector Williams?
This is their fire escape.
My apologies, I'm scrolling. What view of the apartment are we looking at here, Inspector Williams?
This is the front door.
And then lastly, what are we looking at in this photograph?
A more close-up picture of the fire alarm.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. When you went out to the property, Inspector Williams, how many units did you observe at that property?
I only observed one unit, but I spoke with the other, with two other units and kind of let them know what was going on with regards to the fire alarm and some of the other stuff that I found, but I only inspected one unit.
And in your training and experience as an LNI inspector, were you able to ascertain how many units there were located at 6707 Ogontz Avenue?
Yes, I counted 3.
And lastly, just to recap, the basis for the intent to seize is for the inoperable fire alarm system. Is that correct?
That is correct.
No further questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Rakeem Austin, do you have any questions of Mr. Williams based on his testimony?
No.
Okay, sir, would ask you though, if you could stop moving, because when you're moving and you testifying, it creates problems for us.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you. Ms. Clark, do you have any additional witnesses?
No, the city does not.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Austin, share with us your understanding of what's going on.
Well, can I ask a question of
Sure.
the inspector?
Yes.
In the violation notice, it includes obtaining a rental license for the property. That wasn't, you weren't questioned about it, but is there a rental license for the property or not?
No, there was not.
I don't think you were questioned. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I just have one real quick question concerning
Yes, sir.
that on the notice of violation, say must restore hot water service to the apartments. Was there no hot water or no water? What was the issue there?
At the time, there was no hot water going to the apartment. And that was what the original complaint was for, which brought me to the house. That
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
resident on the 3rd floor didn't have any hot water to his apartment.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Rakeem Austin,
Yes.
So share with us your understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, so I wasn't the one that called, but I'm the tenant that's living in it. There was no hot water, and they say the fires, there was no fire escape, and the hallway had no lights. And
Okay,
so-
which apartment do you reside?
third floor front,
Third floor front? How many units are in the building?
4.
4 units?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have hot water today?
No.
No, how long have you been without hot water?
4 weeks. 4 weeks now.
4 weeks? Okay,
Yes.
what has the landlord said to you in terms of why you don't have hot water?
He haven't said, but I spoke to him personally the day he came out today and said that they starting the process of fixing everything up.
Is
And not the
someone
hot
working-
water.
Was
Say
someone
that
working
again.
there today?
No, the owner just came out to me.
Okay. What about the fire alarm system? Is it still not working?
No,
I probably should have asked, is the fire alarm system still broken?
I'm not sure. They was here earlier. I haven't checked yet.
When you say they, was it a mechanic there to repair it or the owner who came?
It was the owner and a couple workers with him.
Okay. So how many of the apartments are now occupied?
Just 2.
Where's the other occupied apartment?
Downstairs, first floor.
Okay, so the person on the third floor is no longer there. It's Mr. Cephas. Did he move?
I have no clue.
Okay. Do you know anything about Joy King, who also submitted an appeal?
Yes, she still live here.
She still lives there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do the 2 of you live in the same apartment?
No.
Okay. Okay. And so what's the basis of your appeal? Why did you appeal the intent to cease order?
Just so we could get the money up to relocate to somewhere else.
Okay. So your issue is time. You plan to move, but you need more time. So how much time do you think you need?
Like 2 to 3 months.
And you're prepared to live in a house with no water? Well, let me be clear. Is it no hot water or no water at all?
No, there is water, but there's no hot water. But when he came out here today, he said that it should be on by the night.
By tonight.
Correct.
And people working in the building all day?
Not all day for a little bit, then left.
Oh, okay. Anybody else have any questions?
And Mr. Chair, I do have a question for Mr. Rakim. Did you see them, Mr. Rakim, bring in a hot water tank today, the workers?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rakim, unless there's something happening in your unit, if you could keep your image up, it'd be helpful for us. It'll be easier for us to communicate with you. Okay.
Okay, no problem. No
All
problem.
right. Thank you. Is there any, Ms. Clark, do you have any closing statements or anything? Any argument?
Just briefly, so it's the city's position that the notice of violation as well as the intent to cease was sent to the occupants and the owner of the property on or about August 24th, 2022. Today, as of today, none of the violations, which are the basis for the intent to cease, have been corrected, as Mr. Rakim has testified to today. And with that, the city would respectfully request a city affirm for the property.
Okay. And I'll just ask one closing thing, and I know this is out of order, but I'll ask Mr. Williams. So if you unmute yourself, Mr. Williams. As far as you know, there's been no additional certification submitted for the fire alarm system. So your records indicate it's still inoperable?
Yes, it's still inoperable.
Okay.
And do you know if any application has been made to legalize the use of the property?
With regards to getting a rental license or
Yes, the rental license, or I don't even know whether the zoning is for 4, it appears to be 4 apartments.
Well, when I checked the zoning, it appeared that it was correct. That's why I didn't write it. But with the fire alarm, the management company has been in contact with me and they haven't given any indication that they're going to fix it. I mean, this is news to me that they said that they were going to fix some things, because his indication to me was, you know, that they're trying to, I still figure out a plan to fix it. So I don't know when they're going to be able to get that stuff rectified.
Okay. And before I ask the vote, I just want to say this to Mr. Austin. Mr. Austin, our principal concern here is for your safety. I think there's children living in the building also, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is safety for you and particularly the minor residents of the building? I'm not sure how many exist, but God forbid there would be a fire today or tonight. At the moment, you are completely without any level of protection. That stuff in the hallway that blocked the doors, that stuff still there?
Yes.
Okay. And so even if you knew that there was smoke in the hallway, you couldn't get to the exit to get to the fire alarm because of the debris and so forth. So you live in a very hazardous situation. So whatever decision we make will be based with that in mind, that we don't want you or those children to be at risk of losing your life because of inoperable fire alarm system or other inaccuracies in this space. Before we call the vote, anything else from anyone?
No.
All right, thank you. Boy. Okay, then we will call the vote on HA-2022-003968, Rakim Austin, 6707 Ogons Avenue, City of Fern.
I'm going to give him some time to move out. I'm going to suggest, I don't know what my colleagues, I'm going to suggest City of.
Hello? Hello?
Mr. Moore, I'll be right back in this room to talk to you. I've been trying to contact you, okay?
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
Time just as we gave. My vote would be city affirm, but I would extend it to 120 days, just as we gave the other occupants of the previous matter. He has an 11-month-old, and it doesn't appear that he may not have the means to make a move in a short period of time. So city affirm, 120-day stay of enforcement.
Okay, Ms. Washington?
City affirm 60 days.
Okay, the chair will make a correction to the vote. City affirm 60 days stay of enforcement. Thank you. Okay, so the record should reflect.
Excuse me, go ahead.
Reflected as a majority vote for city affirm 60 days stay of enforcement.
No, not
Okay.
majority. That's not the majority, Mr. Chair. I did not
That's
vote for
not the
60
majority.
days.
But the majority of the vote was for city
Oh, I
affirm
beg your
60
pardon.
days.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
Okay. All right, thank the record. I just want to make sure the record is clear. Okay,
I'm sorry. I beg your pardon.
okay. Mr. Austin, you should understand that. Mr. Austin, I'm not sure if he's still with us. The
Yes.
vote was city's position has been confirmed with 60 days stay of enforcement, meaning we've asked the department not to take any additional enforcement action for 60 days. That gives you
Okay.
60 days at least to try to find an alternative location for you and your family. Okay, and the other residents as well. But if you can, and other men in that place can do something to get rid of that debris blocking the exit, you should do it. Because in the midst of a fire, it's going to be super hazardous and no way you're going to find your way out if that stuff is blocking the hallway. You should get rid of that stuff right away. But anyway, 60 days stay of enforcement. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Have a good day.
No problem. Thank you too.
Okay. All righty. Let's go back to Mr. Wade, if you're available. Let's go back to the matter that we were leaving to the end.
Okay, that's Chef in the Box?
Yes.
Okay, just to confirm, the appellant Aaron Moore, I had poor contact information for him, so I put him in a breakout room. While you're in executive session, I'll situate his matter, but we'll call this one into
Okay.
the record.
Actually, I did look into that particular case just now, and
Okay, but Mr. Router, before you go on, I just, because the court reporter won't know what you're talking about. So we need to put that matter on the record so she knows what it is.
all right, well, whichever
Okay.
one you want to do first, because the other
Okay.
guy's not here anyway, so.
Sure, let's do this. Mr. Wade, put the address on the record, and then Mr. Router, give us your understanding of the matter.
Okay, case number 22, hearing appeal number.
No, you misunderstand me. The fellow who was waiting to be heard,
Yes,
what is his name and the address that he's concerned about?
his name is, I believe it's Aaron,
Yeah,
Moore.
more, I think.
3026 Redner Street.
Okay, Mr. Router, you have information regarding that matter?
Yeah, well, yes, it did appear in Eclipse that a notice had been sent out for a hearing today, although it did not appear on any of the lists that we had. Again, that's not a problem. It's a clerical thing. However, it doesn't appear that, I can say that it doesn't appear that he's actually contesting the violations, and he did obtain a vacant property license, which was required. So I don't want to get into the merits because he's not here, but
Okay.
I think we can just come to an agreement, and then, so you don't have to have the guy come back, is what I'm saying.
Mr. Reuter, do you want me to put you in the breakout room with him now? Or,
I think the next case is mine, so why don't we do that, and then you can just bring him out. It's fine. It should
Okay,
be fine.
perfect.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
let's do
Thank you very
the
much.
Chef
Okay,
and Box.
what we will
Yeah.
do is hear this next case, and then Mr. Router and Mr. Wade will go in a breakout room with the individual who's
That works.
on the,
Perfect.
and then we will go in executive session with Ms. Alfred. Okay,
Perfect.
all right, so read the final matter, please.
Case number 22, hearing appeal number HA 2021-004995. Chef in a Box, 1935 South Third Street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Router, I don't believe anyone's present. Mr. Wade, was service provided?
Yes.
Okay, what is your preference, Mr. Router?
Thank you. We would simply ask that this matter be marked city affirmed for lack of appearance, and just, I would note that it's our belief that the actual business operation is no longer operating anyway, so. Yeah, I will say, again, just for the record, the appeal, it should be marked city affirmed, that the zoning issue was in fact resolved. They did comply to zoning, but they don't have a CO, so, but it should still just be marked all city affirmed. We've already got the zoning permit in our records, so.
Okay, thank you. We will then pull, what time do we have, Mr. Pincus?
4:59 PM.
4:59 PM. All right, so now we will pull the board on HA-2021-004995, Chef Inbox, 1935 South Third Street, City of Fairham, non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much. So that matter is resolved. Mr. Wade, if you could put us all in the separate room.
Okay, just real quick, I just wanted to know, did we need the court reporter to stick around for this last hearing, Mr. Reuter,
No.
or do you believe?
No, that's off the record, because
Okay.
because it's not listed today, so it would be off the record.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, and so actually, if he's in the breakout room, why don't the board just stay where we are? And we will do our executive session in this space, and you could go to the breakout
Perfect.
room with Mr. Router.
Perfect.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Austin appears to still have his phone.
I'll remove him.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to stop
Thank
the
you.
recording.
Thank you. Mr. Router, thank you so much for your help today.